Live tonight from the virtual Dover International Speedway in Dover, Delaware, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 9 of the 2021 SimSeats Real Sim Racing Cup Series. We're happy to have you strapped into the virtual seat and along for the ride with us here on RaceSpot TV. We're alongside our producer, Hugo Luis, downstairs. My name is Evan Pasoko, happy to be joined this week up top by Nolan Rempel in the Cup Series broadcast booth. And we come back to the Monster Mile, Nolan, 1 week removed from an IROC Series race that allowed these Cup Series drivers to be off and me to embarrass myself down on the racetrack. But the Real Series is back at it here tonight and continued on for our first trip to the Monster Mile. A 1 mile, very unique racetrack that I think presents a big opportunity for some drivers who may not be comfortable with a lot of the road courses we're going to see in a few weeks to get some points. But Dover's always a tricky track, so who knows how crazy tonight could be.
Well, it's called the Monster Mile for a reason here, Evan. This is definitely one of the most fearsome 1 mile tracks. 1 mile low is really in the world, you could say it at that. It's got some very steep banking on it. Even the front and back straightaway is incredibly banked, as you can see from one of these many static angles that we got here just down the front stretch, facing down towards turn number 1. It is an incredibly difficult track, most notably the massive bumps on the entry to turns 1 and 3. That is where we could see a lot of the incidents coming from here later on in today's race.
And here's a look at our schedule as we close in on the halfway point of the regular season. The bottom left, that's us. Tonight, May the 17th here at Dover. But I mentioned road courses. An inaugural trip to COTA coming up in 1 week's time. The longest oval race of the year at Charlotte the week following. But then you got Sonoma. You got an all-star race in there and then a couple of more tracks through the end of the year. So this is going to continue to be interesting. We'll see how many more drivers can get race wins. We've seen 6 different race winners over the course of the 8 races so far this year. But Dover is a track, I think, to your point, they call it Monster Mile for a reason, right? This place can be unforgiving, and this is a longer race as well this year than what we've seen in the past couple of seasons. Again, all the races in 2021 half distance to our NASCAR Cup Series counterparts. So 200 laps here at Dover is no walk in the park.
No, it certainly is not. It's only about 200 miles, the length of a lot of the other races on the track, but at this place, it definitely feels a heck of a lot longer than that, and one of a good friend of mine can definitely attest to the fact when he had a race that ran here completely green, you get tired really, really quickly. This is a track that is extremely physically tasking, even here in the virtual world. Taking a look here at the point standings, and that 88 car is still doing a great job with 3 wins so far on the season to keep himself up there at the top step here on your podium for the points.
He is the only repeat winner thus far in 3 of those wins. He's won 3 of the last 4 times. So Andrew Friedage is getting hot, but all those drivers are top 25 in points, which means those wins for the top 6 lock them into the postseason at the moment. If you're a Nick Silver, if you're a Chris Rabel, a Matt Danson, plus 79, plus 58, plus 45, Nolan, at that point I'm pretty comfortable. Right-hand side of your screen, this is going to be the battle that we got to watch all year. Cato, Lischinski, Traego, Changlis, all within 1 point there with Bradley Burke and Kyle Kamer. So there is a lot to be decided with 11 races left still in this regular season. And a win going to give anybody on that right-hand side of that graphic that free ticket into the playoffs that would make their life a lot easier.
For those that, of course, aren't going to be able to get the chance to get that first win, though, it is still going to be a very fierce points battle. I mean, even look behind Cameron. You got, of course, Davis at the 24 car just behind. Only 12 points behind Cameron as well. So it's incredibly tight for those final critical spots in the playoffs. And those spots, they are, of course, going to be the ones to watch for because those could be drivers' only hopes at winning the title this season if they can't get that first victory.
Tonight could be a big night for David Washington. Bottom right, 20th in the points, down 13. He is the 2016 RSR Cup Series Fall race winner here at the Dover International Speedway. A one-time race winner. Andrew Friedage is the defending race winner for this one. We're back in 2020. As we take a look at your SimSeats starting grid, no surprise that Friedage is up there, but how about Trey Browning pole position with the 22.014. He squeaks out for Renage, and those cars will sit 1 and 2 on the front row. Daniel Eberhard and Sam Nieto going to double up for row number 2. That'll be 3rd and 4th, with Brandon Bowie and Rhett McBride, your top 6 drivers. Sean Casto starts from 7th, with Michael Araya in position number 8, and then Cody Harris and Eric Stanford round out your top 10.
Dominic Howe and Brian Chambliss in 11th and 12th, just over a tenth of a second behind your pole sitter Trey Brown. And Nick Silver and Agno Phillip in 13th and 14th. Ross Cato and Kyle Kamer both in 15th and 16th position, with Thomas George and Matt Danson 17th and 18th. Still within about half a tenth of each other is Joe Yakes and Shane Parrish to round out the first half of the grid.
And continuing on through, Jeremy Miller will find himself 21st, with Chris Rapel in 22nd. Eric de Blasio and Matt Marr in the thick of things 23rd and 24th. And there is David Washington at Ian's Goodnight P25, with some work to do ahead of Kyle Trudell. Those playoff bubble drivers, though, they are on the back. The likes of Les Chinsky starts 27th ahead of Aaron Weinmaster. Nicholas Johnston is 29th, and Dylan C. Jones P30.
And then in the 31st position, Steve Durham rounds it out 0.3 of a second behind Trey Browning, with Sean Callist right beside him in the SK Sim Racing number 43. Braden Whitaker in the 04 car starts 33rd, but Stove Price Jr. in the 34th position. RaceSpot TV's very own Dylan Coyle is in 35th place, with Nazi Major in 36th. 37th place holds Steve Soa, with 38th place holding Trevin Valderrama. Michael Kuczynski in 39th. Adam de Blasio rounds out the top 40, with Tom Moreno and Joseph Tice bringing up the tail of the field. Joseph Tice not getting the qualifying lap here in the qualifying session.
And just under that number 43 cap, so 42 cars in the field here tonight. Nobody will be sent home and go home qualifying. That is a nice change of pace for Michael Kuczynski, who failed to get a lap in, just missed the clock. He was coming out of 4 when the qualifying clock expired last week at Kansas. He did not make the show, but back on track here this afternoon, and you see the field roll. Let's talk about the Monster Mile. Of course, everybody knows this unique surface is what makes this racetrack so tricky. It's one of the only concrete circuits on the circuit. 1 mile in length, 24 degrees of banking. And you mentioned the banking on the straightaways at 9 degrees. Far more banking than we see at most racetracks. Tonight race is going to be 200 laps in distance, and at a mile a lap, that means we go racing for 200 miles in tonight's Sim Seats 200. The 9th race of 20 on the regular season. Ferinage has dominated over the course of the last month. Trey Browning, could he be looking for a first win from pole position? The iRacing official pace car going to dive to the safety of pit road, and the field is in the hands of the 18 machine of Trey Browning. Happy that you're spending your Monday night with us on RaceSpot TV as they come at turn number 4, and we say let's go racing at the Monster Mile.
A couple cars getting spun around. It looks as though Kyle Trudell is stopped in the infield. Tom Moreno is also down to the bottom in turn number 2. One more car caught him. I believe it was Adam de Blasio that may have had some contact in this as well on the first lap of the race.
A lot of cars involved in that one, and an early caution flag here from Dover. All those cars involved hadn't even made it through turns number 1 and 2 before that chaos reigned. And just kind of talking about some of the drivers pre-race, I think that we weren't expecting a caution-free race at Dover. I know you mentioned earlier, you know, if a race like this goes green, it could be a battle of attrition, but I think this race is going to be a battle of attrition either way. Dover used to be on the RSR Cup Series calendar twice a year. Nowadays, it's only there one, and I feel like it's a dreaded stop for many, as this one didn't take long to have some fireworks early.
It's such a shame for a lot of those drivers that are now going to have a lot of work to do, particularly for Tom Moreno, though, who has smoke pouring out of the number 42 car. He's taking it to pit road. Kyle Trudell with the number 7 car. There's a big check up there into turn number 1. Not sure who that was right in front of Trudell, but that's what started off the whole mess. And then everything after that was just cars trying to check up for the original incident. There's the hard hit from Moreno into the outside wall.
There was several incidents there. Trudell got turned, and then they all kind of stacked him up at a racetrack as the 7 was off and in the grass. And Let's ride with Tom for this one. You can see Trudell spinning down to the grass. There's the secondary checkup, the touch, and a hard hit into the outside wall for Tom Morano. And as run to the yellow, let's bring in the third member of our broadcast team, RaceSpot's own Dylan Coyle, noted RSR IROC Series race winner. And did you get a good view of that one?
I did. That was the worst RSR start I've ever been a part of. I can't lie. Literally, right from the beginning, I think it was Dylan Jones who got rear-ended in pit lane. Had some damage, almost got run into. And, oh my goodness, that felt like Dover.
So we're expecting this one to have some physicality, for it to be a little bit messy at times. What is it about Dover that is such the challenge? Minus, don't just tell me all of it. I need specifics.
I'm not even going to just say the concrete part of it. It is because of the banking. I believe it's 24 degrees banking in the corners and around 11 degrees, 12 degrees banking on the straights. It's such short straightaways, and because the track itself is so thin, it makes it really hard to find passing opportunities. And when you do have an opportunity, you almost want to just send it right down on the inside of a driver in front. So all of those things combined, and the concrete, obviously, it makes it so difficult for a driver. And you got to say, this is something you don't really notice unless you're actually driving on the track. There's a bump after going in and out of each corner. It's a hill. You go up over it, you go down into it, and it's almost like a roller coaster at Dover. Like Nolan was saying earlier, you're always having to stay awake here. It's taxing on the body. There's a lot of work and effort that has to go behind the wheel to make a race like this, raceable and winnable, and honestly just survivable.
It's a fair point because, Nolan, at most tracks, even if you're on the bottom, when you come off of the corner, you're normally coming down the banking. That's where you get that run, especially up top where you get the run. But here at Dover, to Dylan's point, you do feel like you're kind of going up and over a hump. It makes the race car loose. That wall kind of jumps out at you with a safer barrier there out of 2 and 4 at both ends of the racetrack. And with those short straightaways, you really don't get an opportunity here to breathe at all.
No, you certainly don't, and I know that there are actually quite a few drivers that when they're kind of going for these restart lines, if they, of course, have the choice to do this, they actually do prefer to start on the outside line, which is why for leagues that, don't allow restart line choice, they will actually elect to maybe try to stay out of the lead until the very last bit, so if there is a caution, they get to start on the high side, allowing themselves to get a better line into turns 1 and 2. It's so much more stable up there, so much more risky to run the bottom as well, because the bump that we've been talking about for these corners, so much more severe the further down you go on the track.
And speaking of the outside being an advantage, Trey Browning started this race on a pole, but he didn't even get to lead a single lap. Andrew Freenage, as we watched all the chaos down at 1 and 2, took the race lead on the opening lap of this one down the back straightaway. It will be the control car. There is no decision inside or out. Normally, race leader can decide if he wants to be on the inside or the outside lane. Because the caution flag came out within 1 lap of a green, per league rules, we are going to go single file for this restart. So we'll see if that helps spread things out just a little bit, or if going from 20 rows of 2 to 40 rows of 1, if that only makes the accordion effect a little bit worse. The pace car is going to be in this time, 6 laps down of 200 on the scoring to pylon this evening, and the restart is on the mark of the 88 of Freenage. He can go any time between when that pace car hits pit road to the exit of the restart box. Let's see what the number 88 Ford does. He's going to go right at the pit line, and he is gone. Freenage, a huge jump to turn 1. Big time advantage on the board there with a moment with Nick Silver, who sat 9th in line. And there's a look at this mid-pack battle. The top 2 stretch it out just a little bit, but you got Lariah, Harris, Silver, Phillip, Chambliss all over each other down the back straightaway. And it's Lariah looking to the inside on McBride for 6th. They almost touched in turn 3.
And Rhett McBride had to lift off a little bit there to kind of give Lariah the space there in the 44 car just behind. Nick Silver trying to go down the inside of Cody Harris for the 8th position here on the 9th lap of this 200-lap event at the Dover International Speedway. Agno Phillip just behind these guys in the 94 car as well. So a lot of shakers and movers so far in this one, but it looks like for now things are going to be remaining single file, which is definitely the way you want to see these races go if you want these races to go more green towards the end.
McBride thinking about trying to go back on Lariah for that spot. Doesn't do it. All the way to the bumper. Maybe caught him a break there because he had a huge run of speed, and Lariah was just ready to get back on the throttle. So Harris from the defensive to the offensive. He'll now go to the inside of the number 15 VRS Chevy up top. Top side's got a bit of a run, but Harris going to hang tight. Agnell Phillip watches on from the number 9 spot. Phillip already up 5 positions. He's the biggest mover inside of the top 20 as he watched the 6 and the 15 continue to do battle in a fight for 7.
That 15 car is really trying to run that outside line, trying to get the maximum of momentum possible off of these corners. He's really pitching in the 6 as well to make sure he compromises Cody Harris's line out of the corner, and did so perfectly. And now, just like that, Harris back on defense as Phillip goes down the inside of the 94 to try to pick up the 8th position. But now it's Cody Harris that's able to run the outside line. Definitely the place you want to be at is that top side if you want to try to defend one of these positions.
And you can see it right-hand side of your screen as well as using the outside line of the racetrack. It is that 3 of Nick Silver. Silver sits 10th. You're looking up the road to Phillip, and on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see they have single-filed it out for the moment, with the 6 cars successfully defending against the 94 for the moment. So, slight opportunity for the cars inside of the top 10 to single-file out and take stock of the race start. Working lap number 13. Let's ride on board with Ross Cato. He's already up 5 positions. He's now a top 10 car in his Fast Forward Esports number 12.
And he is currently trying to run down Phillip just up there as well. Now, of course, one good thing to note is that these drivers want to spend as little time as possible running side by side here, because the more you are side by side, while the times sometimes might not differ too much, you just burn up your tires when you're trying to pass somebody, especially around the inside line, which is why it is detrimental to if you want to try to pass somebody. And it is so important that if you want to get a pass done, you got to do it quickly.
Meanwhile, the fastest car on track is Trey Browning from the number 2 position. Freenage got that big jump off for the restart, and you can see, look at this battle right here inside of the top 10 there, as that was Bowie closed it in on the Edo, but Browning was almost 0.6 of a second off of Freenage for the top position. He has closed it into closer to 4. Now, of course, last lap, Freenage was the fastest car on track, so they're exchanging blows, but could be a good battle for 1st and 2nd on the way. It's already a good battle for 3rd and 4th as Bowie is chasing down Nieto. Both of these cars able to make an early race pass on Daniel Eberhardt. They're supposed to start this race in the number 3 position, but the number 90 machine has since dropped to the back by pitting under that one and only caution flag we've seen thus far. You're looking off of the back of Nieto. Different colors. The green on that number 2, and what a bobble up to turn 4. Here comes Bowie down to the inside. He'll slice through and take 3rd. Nieto tries to cross over, looks to the bottom, but the number 34 Toyota will hold.
One slow car down at the low side there in turn 3. That is Steve Soa, a lap car. Looks like he's going to go to pit road in the number 75 car. That 75 car still damaged from earlier incidents, I believe, earlier in this race, and potentially pit road damage as well. While some drivers did get that damage, as our Immer's reporter Dylan Coyle mentioned, while trying to just get off on that one and only pace lap before it took the green flag. But so far, the battle for 4th and 3rd between Nieto and Bowie still raged on, but already Bowie has begun to grow. Quite a sizable gap there on Nieto.
And Steve Soa forced to bring his Chevy to pit road. Heavy left side damage from a bit of contact with both the outside front wall, but then after that he bounced off and hit the pit wall. That's where his damage came from. He opts to bring it in for repairs. That may be done early for Steve Soa. It goes to show you it could be a battle of attrition. You don't have to be fighting another car to have your hands full here at the Dover International Speedway. Fighting against Miles the Monster is sometimes a challenge enough.
Well, it certainly is. I mean, this is one of those tracks that even I have yet to master. And I haven't really mastered a whole lot of tracks myself, and this is definitely a track that I'm far from. And I have a feeling that you don't really master a track like Dover. You just survive it.
Well, all of a sudden, that battle for the race lead, you can forget about it. You see the intervals left-hand side of your screen. Freenage all of a sudden up big, 1.2 seconds on Brownie. And so maybe that number 18 team looking for a little bit of consistency. You're starting to see Bowie maybe pull away just a little bit from the exchange with Nieto. And then on the right-hand side of your screen, how about this duo? Is that Leszczynski, the second car in line, the red 03 in 19th position, trying to chase down the 11 of Eric de Blasio in P18. These are all cars who have picked up spots and on the move, and about 9 seconds off of the race lead already.
It's one of those tracks where the race leader, if they know what they're doing, which clearly Freenage does, you can just pull such a massive gap over the course of the field. Now, one thing to keep an eye on as well is Freenage burning his tires up. Some drivers, what they like to do is build that really big gap early on when the tires are at their best, so that way when they start to fall on off, they got a lot of buffer room that they can work with, so they have the ability to kind of back off. Unlike if you're kind of running nose and tail with drivers, and when your tires start to fall away, you're already caught up in the swarm of things with nowhere to go.
And here's the two machine now working on Bowie. They're all over each other, and of course we've seen this exchange play out. Number 2 machine was the car on defense a little bit earlier. Bowie was able to make the pass. Nieto is not going to let him go. He gets on the bumper. But look at that number 2 Ford Mustang off of the back end of the number 34 machine. Great fight right now for 3rd and 4th position. They're about a second up the road from anybody else. You got Casto, P5, Lariah, and McBride in a bit of a battle for 6th and 7th, but it is spread out. These two the closest inside of the top 10, and they have room to battle, which is the critical thing, is they're going to be catching up to lap traffic, and Trevin Valderrama up the road in the O2 machine looking for a way to navigate on through. We talk about a shorter track, and a track at a mile in length like the Monster, where your race leaders, if they're fast, they could be significantly faster than other cars. You're going to have a lot of this traffic. 3 wide goes Nieto through the middle as Bowie checked up to avoid the O2. The 2 car tries to make the middle work. Bowie slides up and defends. That is how quickly it can happen.
That was certainly a close one, and Nieto, I believe, did cut Bowie quite the break there off of the corner. Bowie was starting to slide up and kind of chopped right across Nieto's bumper as they exited turn number 4. I think the 2 car might not be so friendly when he gets back to him. It looks like he is already starting to close on in, though. Said Nieto, that 2 car's got that bottom lane dialed in. Caution front straightaway. Sean Kalissa's got around to the 43 car down to the bottom of the front straightaway just by the pit wall. So that'll bring out caution number 2 on the night.
Number 27 is when this one strikes, and let's see what happened to Kalis. Ahead of the 30, does he get some help? Looks like they got together. I wonder if Kalis, maybe Nolan caught the fence, because it seemed like he slowed down a lot, or maybe he just got a little bit loose, rolled out of the throttle, and there was really no opportunity for Michael Kuczynski to lift in a battle for 36th and 37th. Let's take the drone down the back straightaway to 3 and 4, see what happens.
I have a feeling you're correct here, Evan. I do think that Kalis hit the wall and Kuczynski was just left with nowhere to go. This will definitely tell the story here, though. There you can see Kalis going up to the wall. Definitely clipped it there, just the smallest bit. And it only takes that little bit of a time, though, because you just fly up with this car so quickly when they hit a wall like that. And Kuczynski, there was just nothing he could do to avoid that one.
They were fighting for 35th and 36th position at the time of the yellow, 1 lap down. And this will slow things down, and we'll see if anybody wants to claim responsibility for the yellow and opt to accept the end of the longest line of penalties. So your race leaders are down to pit road. There are only 4 additional sets of tires available in this race, so you could probably ration them out. First 40 laps, about lap 80, about lap 120, 160. That's how you would split the difference evenly amongst those 4 additional sets. But these race leaders look like they want it now. Could be one of the few races where drivers start to run out of tires the later we go in a race. Not everybody's down pit road, but see what your race leaders do. They're likely looking for 4 and fewer.
I've seen some drivers actually be able to stretch tires out as far as 80 laps, so I think what these drivers are trying to do is, since it's early in the race, take those tires now, kind of set yourself up for a longer run later on in the race. The 88 car wins the race off of pit road. Andrew Freenage retakes the race lead out of pit road. Trey Browning is just behind him in 2nd place. Brandon Bowie maintains 3rd, with Sean Casto picking up the 4th place in the race off of pit road, and Michael Araya in 5th now, I believe.
And everybody pretty even with time on pit road. Friedage winning that exchange off of the pit lane. Not everybody pitted, though, as I mentioned. Nieto, Leszczynski, Coyle, de Blasio, and Major, all drivers who have stayed out. It looks like a couple of lapped cars going to trickle down to the pit lane. So let's talk with them. Dylan, the decision to stay out, is it to save those tires for later in the run? Because I think we all know that getting tires now is going to make you faster, but is this a decision that's not worth it at lap 30?
I don't think the decision is worth it yet. You get such a boost with fresh tires here, but it only lasts for a couple laps before you start to kind of even out. And if there's anything we know about Dover, it's all about track position. I don't think I'm going to be... listen, if the faster guys come towards me, I'm going to get out of the way, and if I lose all the way back before the position I just was in, 25th, then hey, it's what it is. But it's a gamble. I just don't think it's... I want to save those tires, and we'll see how easy or how hard it is to keep position with used tires at Dover. We saw some drivers in the Cup Series race yesterday, drivers such as the 99 of Daniel Suarez, 23 of Bubba Wallace. They saved tires, or they decided not to go out or go into the pits in the last round of pit stops with around 80 left, and they were able to keep position. I don't think I'm their quality, but we'll see what happens.
Bit of a different logo as well on the hood of the car. We're taking a look from high above. Tell us about it.
Yeah, we've got some beautiful, the official podcast of RSR, Around the Turns. It was a great time on the podcast just a little bit ago with the Mara brothers and with Matt Danson. So, hold on, I'm being called out.
Dylan's got to respond in the sim because the guys on Fresh Tires are yelling at him. But yeah, hosted by Matt Barr, Nick Barr. I think Matt Danson's going to be a regular kind of co-host on the After the Turns podcast, the official podcast of RSR. Really cool to see what the Barr brothers have been doing the last couple of weeks, and I've certainly tuned in. Dylan was a guest on the show as the IROC winner last week, and happy to have After the Turns as the official podcast of RealSimRacing. So I'm going to give them some love, and I know that as of last week, if you search After the Turns on all your favorite platforms, Spotify and all that, wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen in, and I believe those are basically regular shows on a weekly basis talking all things RSR. So I enjoy listening to them, and would encourage everybody, if you need something to listen to while you're at work or on a drive. The Marr brothers are doing a great job, Matt Danson and everybody else involved, so hats off to those guys. But we're going to restart coming up. The pace car off and in. Your top 6 drivers decided not to pit. First one with fresh rubber is Andrew Friedage. Green flag flies. Nieto gets in front, but look behind. Friedage shot about 3 wide, done bite.
Decided not to make that bite, but now they're going to go 3 wide, and Minazzi Major caught right in the middle, and the 82 car dropping back like a stone down to the turn number 3, and he is still going to be 3 wide, and Silver now going by around the outside. I think that 82 car is just trying to bail out. This is all sorts of intense up here within the top 15 cars here, as these guys grabbing for tires, trying to get on guys on the older tires as well. Coyle is dropping back in the middle as well.
I think Andrew would have moved Dylan out of the way there. He was going the wrong way, 3 wide, and he was putting a lot of wheel into that car to hang on to it. Still 3 wide towards the front. You can see them rip off the turn number 4, and Dylan is not having a fun time with the old tires, but saving them in the back pocket. It could be a better decision. Long run, look out, a spinner up the road. De Blasio and others. Dylan just sneaking through. But the third caution of the afternoon flies with several drivers involved. And I think a couple of drivers were able to avoid it, but I think the first car sideways might have been Dominic Howe. There's a couple cars beat up, but Howe no longer has a front end. So we'll have to see how this happened off in turn number 1 and scratched at Eric de Blasio in the 11 is where this all kicked off. And second time tonight, Nolan, we got a pileup at 1 and 2.
And Dominic Howe was one of the drivers that kind of came in really late into that incident, but gosh, that was a tremendous impact there for a couple of cars at the outside wall. There you see the initial contest in the Blasio round.
He goes around, and there is all the other traffic that piles in. The 11 would have been able to hold the bottom, but then he got tagged by the 5 of Joseph Tice. Then Dominic Howe gets hooked up the hill, and Dylan was about a half a foot from getting eaten alive in that one. The car behind him on the outside was Minotzi Major. Minotzi gets a lot of damage in that one. Dylan, was that a close enough call for you?
I'm pitting every time now.
Well, we had your camera up. We can see the puckers you were going through, but you made it through without an issue. So Carton's involved. Going to be down pit road for service, and probably everybody who stayed out and gambled with 30-lap different tires is going to come down pit road as well.
A little bit.
That'll show you that it is sometimes inadvisable.
You should have told me. You should have told me I was stupid.
I didn't know. Let's check this out. We're on board with Minotzi. So Dylan's the car up the road. We were on board with him at the time. Dylan sneaks through. That hole closes, and that is a big hit, Nolan, for the 82.
It certainly is. Minotzi Major is not going to be having a fun time with that one, so I believe he is also down in pit road, currently trying to get service done on his machine as well. No front clip on the 82 machine presently, so he is most likely going to be down on power as a result of that one. That kind of really puts an emphasis, though, Evan, that whole restart about how beneficial fresh tires are compared to old tires. I mean, it was, what, a 30-lap difference there between drivers on fresh tires compared to those on old tires. And, well, we saw just how quickly guys on the old tires fell back. I mean, look at Dylan Coyle for a good example of that. He fell from about 3rd to 22nd in one lap.
Am I a good example of losing speed based on tires or losing speeds based on skill?
Yes.
Wow. Okay,
you don't know which one. No, wait. I didn't specify which one. I think it's a bit of both.
Okay.
To be fair, the answer is yes. It's not A or B. It's somewhere in the middle. You were not the only one who opted the gamble on the tires.
I can't.
Noted
how many more
RSR
laps
winner.
to go?
Noted RSR winner, Dylan Coyle.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, at a plate race, just like you. Just like you.
I got 2 plate race wins though. So
okay.
one of the trucks and one in IROC. So
what's your percentage? Oh, wait a second. Probably better than mine because
yeah,
because you can't do both here.
Correct. Yeah, I'm not doing cup, so that'll help keep my stats up. Let's take a look back and check in with Matt Danson, the driver of the 05 machine, who started 18th and has been up to P15. We talked about him being on the After the Turns podcast. Well, he is your 2021 RealSimRacing IRAPS Winter Series champion. This has been difficult to get, but we finally have Matt Danson's Winter Series trophy. Here it is. The logistical issue has been, how do we ship this to Australia? Well, we finally have a plan. Driver in the series, Tom Morano, going to help me out. So we got this trophy in last week. Matt, this is your hardware for being our Winter Series champion. Big thanks to IRAPS and everybody who helped us put this on. It's a nice piece of hardware. It's been sitting on my desk for the last week, and I wish I had it longer term. But there's Matt Danson's trophy for winning the RSR IRAPS Winter Series in 2021. So that is going to be shipped off to him at the end of the week. I do have the RSR Championship trophy. I'll show that here in just a little bit. It's a championship belt this year. And I think a lot of people figure somebody like a Danson going to be in the running with Farinaj, who is 3 in a row on championships. But Danson, that transition from the Xfinity Series cars to the Cup Series cars has not been the smoothest without a race win so far, but in a playoff spot. So it'll be fun to see Matt roll through, and I'm sure at some point when the trophy makes it to him and he ends up on the podcast, we'll see it in the background or something, he can show it off. But congrats again to Matt, and apologies it's taken so long to get him the hardware, but it's, I believe, the first time we've had an RSR Cup Series champion on the other side of the world. So some unique challenges
he can
in
wait.
2021, of course. It'll get there either way. We have the trophy. It looks nice. They always say that good things are worth waiting for. Pace car off it in. This restart going to come still with 161 to go. The fresh tires are all up front, and Sam Nieto, the only driver really who has yet to been able to fall back through the field, gets another good jump. And watch the advantage for the 18 of Trey Browning up top. The M&M's Toyota, he will squeeze on through, and here's Leszczynski struggling down on the bottom. Browning's got a huge run, Nolan. He'll go to the inside. New race leader Trey Browning again to the top of the board.
And once again, Nieto dropping like a stone. Now he's got Rhett McBride, who's just going to very straight to his inside to try to pick up the 3rd position now. And I think Nieto's going to have to just move out of these guys' way and let them through, because when you're that slow, when you're on old tires, no point in trying to do battle with the leaders. They're going to get through one way or another. I'd rather have it be just with Violette and by on the outside than them shoving their way through me.
And you can see stuck up on the outside right now is that number 2 machine of Sam Nieto on the older tires. Leszczynski's fallen to 13th. He's going to continue to trickle on down. Chris Rabel is also going to drop back. So, oh, and a spinner, it's Danson. Danson wrecking off the corner, and it is a huge one as he is in the fence on the back straightaway.
At least 14 cars is my count on the initial run through there. That was an almighty incident there. Like I said, a couple cars getting up in the air, one even into the fence. I think 2 cars actually got to the fence. Danson for sure got into the fence.
Danson's still on his lid on the back straightaway.
There was one other car as well. I think it might have been Whitaker. No, it was the 27 car, I believe, that actually also got up into the air. It was Jeremy Miller that also had a bit of a glance off of that catch fencing as well down the back straightaway. Got kicked up and over the 8 car of Kyle Kamer as well. But that's definitely one of the biggest crashes I think I've ever seen at this facility, both in the real world and in the sim.
And Freenage with a bit of a joke says, are you right set up? Because you're in Australia. Here's the look, the spin. And that is as big of a wreck as you will ever see at Dover. They pile in. Danson was in the fence. He ended up on his lid. That is an absolute parking lot on the back straightaway. And it all started with Stove Price getting into Danson. Danson was kind of trying to split the difference, I think, between the 2-car and Nieto up the road and Stove Price behind him. And he kind of came down a little bit. The 22 held his ground. They touched, and yeah, you're never going to see a bigger wreck than that here in a 1-mile racetrack. Look at all the damaged cars coming to pit road.
Guys, oh my goodness. That was the scariest thing I think I've ever seen in iRacing.
I just never thought I'd see a car in the catch fence and on their lid at Dover. But here we are.
Well, we've had flips.
Shout out to Dylan Jones, by the way, here, Evan. He just barely squeaked through this wreck here by the skin of his teeth here, going about 10 miles an hour. Take a look on board from him. You can't see anything. It's just a complete park lot there. So he just backs it way down, sees a hole. There's no 5 on his roof, and then he's going to put the wall here. But considering how bad that could have been, I'll call that a successful wreck avoidance from the 20 car.
If I was him, I'd park it and go buy lotto tickets right now. If your luck's that good, you could see it for the onboard there. He couldn't see anything after that touch between the two, and tough break as it takes out a lot of fast cars. And I guess is that a new jinx for the commentator's curse? If you show a guy's championship trophy, he immediately wrecks and ends up on his lid no more than 60 seconds later. So maybe I need to claim responsibility for the caution. A tough break there, and takes out a lot of cars mid-pack that were doing their very best to move through the field. Here's Danson's perspective.
This was the car that caught up in the catch fencing. The first car to get spun around as well, and all he sees is just a bunch of cars flying at him, and then right about there, he just gets clobbered, and well, there you go, up and over, and well, that's all she wrote of that story there for the 05.
Not many times can a pileup leave me speechless, but I don't really know where we can go from that one. That's an interesting exchange. So a handful of yellows at the opening half of this race. This is our 4th caution of the afternoon, and the field is kind of all messed up right now because a lot of them had to slow down. Daniel Eberhardt's night is done. That's notable because he's one of the most successful drivers in series history here. Here's Stove Price's perspective.
And he was the one that tipped Danson around as well, and oh, he just gets away with it too. De Blasio does nail him on the tail end, but he pretty much got away from that virtually scot-free compared to how some of the other guys in the back got caught up with this. I can't tell you one thing that's going to come as a result of this, though, Evan. I believe potentially another single-file restart. I don't think they made it a lap before before that one came out.
They may have just, because it looks like they're going to give them 2x2. We saw how much the single-file restart helped us, right off the bat, but we'll go 2x2 to this one. I mentioned Daniel Eberhardt, a tough break for him because he is the winningest driver in RSR history here at the Dover International Speedway. I mentioned that David Washington, the 2016 fall winner. Well, Freenage is a 2-time Dover winner, including last year and the 2018 fall race. But Daniel Eberhardt's got 4 wins at Dover. 2016 fall, 2017 fall, 2017 spring and fall, and then 2019 the fall race, back when it used to be 2 apiece. So it will not be a 5th win all-time at Dover for Daniel Eberhardt. His night is done. And Frenage may be the best position to get a back-to-back. He's on the outside of the front row. But Trey Browning navigated those lapped cars better when they all stayed out a couple of yellows ago. That's how he got the upper hand. He'll control this restart. Green flag flies. We're back underway.
Already the top 4 single filed out and breaking away from the rest of the field. We're on board with Ross Cato, who at the moment is just on the high side, with Nick Silver on the inside of the battle for 5th and 6th. Silver is going to break through just barely. Now switching back to Cody Harris in his battle, as he just had to let Sean Casto get up in the line.
Casto, the number 52 machine, has been able to hold the top 10 all night long. And didn't cut the 6 car much of a break there. Harris a bit of a wobble. Now looking off at the back of Casto. There's Price again. Same way that he got into dancing, trying to work the bottom. This time the 6 sees him, gives him room. Price can't get it. Now he'll go to the bottom and throw a block on the 19 of Eric Stanford, who can't find a way past that Crayola Ford.
Stanford's going to have to keep trying here. He's also got to worry about Dylan Jones, the driver we just talked about, just barely squeaking through that last wreck. And Dylan Jones is really applying the pressure to the back end of the 19 Ford Mustang there, trying to see if he can maybe get a run on him here. So far, though, Jones has not been able to make much ground. He's going to have to kind of sit in line here. We take a look at the battle on board with Stanford on the left, and or there you can see the battle in full on the right.
Looks like Stanford going to have to deal with some more defense, as that's Dylan C. Jones trying to come up through the field to make a pass on him, the number 20. But those battle scars are at times kind of just squeaking his way through that pile up at the back straightaway. 2 cautions back there, just the last one back, lap number 42, I should say, but has a little bit of damage. Doesn't appear to be affecting him too much, so Price has got a bit of damage at the back end. Price is really working hard right now, trying to get around Cody Harris, but is going to check up Price, and this time he can't throw a block. Stanford is able to get down to the bottom. He'll make a pass, and on board of a Jones, he'll also go to the inside of the 22 and try to make the move. He will at a turn 4.
That is the one disadvantage being shuffled out to the outside lane if you've been running the inside all race long. If you get trapped at the outside there, you are just going to be completely freight trained there. We saw guys on the initial start that had been on the old tires. They just could not find a gap to get in because drivers are flying up on them so fast. If you're going to run the outside line, you really have to commit to it right from the start. If you get shuffled out, though, you're kind of pretty much done for if we're trying to keep any kind of momentum off of those corners.
And here's an on-board look with the number 23 machine. How about that look with Matthew Barr, the VR goggles, right-hand side of your screen, racing gloves, and RSR merch included. So really enjoy that look, and I'll use that as a plug, because why not, to make sure if you go online to our website at RealSimRacing.org, click the Shop Merch tab, top of your screen, go to RealSimRacing.club, and get yourself some RSR merch. Might get some new stuff up there in a couple of days, limited time only, so we'll make sure that some of that's available over the course of the next week. Not going to be
Dylan
around forever,
Arcoil,
so cool.
Dega,
Dylan
IRAC
Arcoil
one?
merch. I don't know if that's going to sell more than one.
My mom, though.
Oh, so 2. Well,
I thought you wouldn't get one?
I'd get my own before I got yours. I didn't finish good in that race. That would just be a race to remind me that I botched the pit stop when I was ahead of you at halfway. I don't need a reminder of that one. So again, that's RealSimRacing.org. Look for the Shop Merch tab at the top of your screen. Look at this gaggle of cars. The battle for 10th position on back. Eric Stanford has got it. Everybody else wants it. Jones, Price, Coyle, all in the mix.
Jones is still trying to keep nice and close to the 19 car of Stanford, but he has just not been able to get close enough to realistically make the move. He is kind of focusing as well on Stove Price shooting behind, but he's a heck of a lot closer right now to Stanford up in front. I know Stanford is going to be trying to look around Cody Harris here really shortly as well. If he can get just a little bit closer to the 6 car just up in front of him, and already they're so close off of these corners, and Stanford keeps looking for the inside line, particularly down the back straightaway. He's just never close enough to really go for the move.
Slow car down on the bottom, headed to pit road is Dominic Cow from a lap down. He's damaged from an earlier incident. I mean, Dover is a racer's racetrack. It's not easy, not going to always produce, close margins. Somebody, if they've really got the car dialed in, as you can see all the damage on Hal there. Someone's got a car dialed in. This is a racetrack that they can pull away at. but there are always challenges. Driving it on your own, trying to make a pass, trying to defend, you know, trying to navigate lapped traffic. I mean, there's nothing not to love about Dover, including the battle for the race lead that is on now. Ferdinand just reeled in Browning, who was very good on the restarts. But it looks like Ferdinand is the better of the two at the moment. And not that far back, how about Agnel Phillip from 14th up to 3rd, Michael Araya from 8th up to 4th position. Battle for the race lead, the left-hand side of your screen, and the continuing scrap for P8 on back is on the right.
And Cody Harris finally got muscled out of line by Stanford, and Stanford scampers away with the 8th position out there. Dylan Jones picks up 9th just behind, and now Stove Price Jr. trying to pick up the other. Oh, contact! Jr. gets sent down, slams the inside wall, and that's going to bring out caution number 4 on the day. Lap number 60. The 22 car was one of the first drivers to start this off. Looks like he might have had contact with Harris. Harris definitely hit the outside wall, though, as well.
Can y'all stop crashing in front of me?
Dylan Coyle might have the best onboard view. He probably knows what happened in this one more than anybody else. And then I will say, nice wreck avoidance.
Thank
Turn
you.
4. Let's take a look. This is the angle that we saw, and it's so tight. To me, it looks like that's the 6 car Nolan, and there's the avoidance by Dylan off it in 4. To me, that looks like the 6 car bobbles as Stove was pulling up alongside him to try to side draft. And they almost just come together in the slightest bit. It ends up with the 6 car bouncing off of the fence. Let's watch it from above. It looks real tight.
So the 6th car, there is Price Jr. coming up. Oh, it was a bit of a wow. There was definitely contact between the 22 and the 6. So a bobble from the 6 causes him to go down into Price Jr. He rebounds into the wall, then rebounds back into the 22, and it's on from there. I think that's kind of the order of events of what happens, and all of that takes place within just a few seconds of each other. You know, one other driver that had a really close call on that wreck was, of course, Adam de Blasio. Not nearly as close as Dylan's was, granted, but he shot to the inside, recognizing that Price Jr. was going to slide up the track, and it's a good thing Price Jr. did, because if de Blasio was about 5 feet closer, would have nailed him at the driver's side door.
And now that we're past 1/4 distance, more drivers back down to pit road. Here's the onboard perspective one more time of the incident with de Blasio. There's the contact up the road. There's the spin. Look out to the inside. De Blasio going to the apron to avoid that one. But now we're starting to get a little bit muddy on the pit strategy. A lot of cars in for damage repairs. That's going to be something that basically happens every caution flag. Drivers coming in to get the car repaired. But you know, we keep talking about drivers wanting to save tires. Dylan, you've gone from wanting to save to wanting to use. You just took on your 2nd set. You've only got 2 left, and we're still shy of halfway. But you should have a lot of speed on this run. Is this strategy being influenced by the yellows and the runs, or just what you've seen speed-wise?
It's what I've seen from in front of me. Why couldn't you give us more?
Every time.
Why couldn't the race organizers have given us some more tires, please?
I don't know who makes that decision, so.
I don't know either. You must be jerk.
It's not admin A. That's a joke that some people will get if there's a suspendable or probation-related incident. There's a 3 admin review panel, and admin A tends to be the strictest of them all. For the record, I'm not any of the admins on the review panel, but in normal cases, do double as race control and manage things at RSR, and 4 tires is what you get every single week. So my responsibility to deal with it.
The 2-time plate winner in RSR.
Noted RSR plate winner.
Telling us to deal with it.
Where tires don't matter, so it's maybe there's a correlation there.
Well, you know, I remember, here's what happens. I have fond memories of getting swallowed up like so much, and it scars me from the very beginning of this race. So I've decided I will prefer tires over no tires.
And in theory, I mean, we wrecked 20. Well, I'm just saying, in theory, we wrecked 20 cars once on the back straightaway, so there's got to be hurt cars. So at some point,
right,
there's going to be enough hurt cars that it should let us string things out and go green. Now, the counterpoint to that is there might be so many hurt cars that the hurt cars aren't going to be able to get out of the way, and it'll just hurt more cars in a never-ending cycle. It's Dover. Who knows?
Yeah, it's Dover.
64 behind us, Nolan, and take 136 to go this time through, putting our 5th yellow of the evening behind us.
That's averaging just about one caution, what, every 12, 13 laps, if I'm kind of doing the math right. Obviously, you've had some that have come in short sequence with each other. Typically, I've noticed when the double file restarts come into play, that's when the cautions definitely start to reign supreme. I think the longest run we've had of the day was in that one single file restart. We did have a decently good run, though, the last time by on double file, because drivers decided to calm it down a little bit after the massive pileup on the backstretch, so we'll see how this restart plays out.
Last year's race at Dover was only 150 laps compared to the 200 this year. That race had 7 caution flags total, was led and dominated by Andrew Friedage, who led 119 laps. Adam Benefiel finished the lap down, leading the other 31. So this one has definitely already had more race leaders, may have more yellows. By the time it's done, the pace car is off. Browning is gone. Green flag flies, and we're back underway. Can anybody challenge Friedage from P2? Not going to happen. The fight's between Phillip and Lariah for 3rd and 4th.
And it looks as though Lariah will just barely eke out for 4th position just by Nick Silver, who was trying to threaten for 5th. Angelo Phillip definitely picks up the 3rd position in the battle for 3rd and 4th behind. So the top grouping started to once again single file out, and Lariah is left back in line from Nick Silver, the 3 car, down to the bottom side. But no doubt that 3 car will be trying to move up here really, really shortly. But look at Friedage already back to the back end of Trey Brown, and then trying to potentially have a run at the race lead.
He is hungry for that top spot, wanting to challenge Browning for the race lead, and this one was able to do so successfully after Browning started from pole position at the very get-go of this race. But now on the flip side, where Browning is consistently the driver under fire, I believe Trey making, and I will just confirm, but making his first start of 2021. No shock, keeping it real in that group at the top of the team standings, continue to bring talent into these Monday night races. And this is the battle between everybody else. I mean, your leaders are so far ahead. This is 3rd on back, where they're all still lined up like they were on the restart, as Friedage up the road, looking side by side for the race lead to the inside of Browning. I don't know if the 18 is going to have anything on the defense. No, he will not. And Friedage back to the race lead.
Browning tried to kind of get the crossover, see if he could maybe pick up some momentum from the outside line and have a cut back down to the turn number 1, but it was no dice on the 18. So Friedage at the 88 will be able to keep it out there in front, and he's already started to kind of build a little bit of a gap on Browning, but definitely one to still continue to keep an eye on. It's only about a 1/4 of a second at the moment. It's still growing, but we could be in for a sight here. Friedage could very well just be burning this stuff up early on here. Browning could be going a bit more conservative, potentially maybe saving a little bit of fuel behind him as well. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out, but the way this race is gone, I doubt we're going to get a green flag run long enough to really see green flag stuff become a factor in this race.
They can go a good distance on fuel. I would think that the tires would have been the priority if it were to go green for the end, and talk about splitting it up and whatnot. Probably wouldn't have even used all 4 sets of tires if it came down to it on a green flag race. But of course, with cautions and whatnot, strategy is very fluid, and you got to be on your toes because there is no real right or wrong decision. You just have to be consistent over the course of an entire race and kind of roll with the punches. I think that adaptability in a race like this, where you have varying strategies and varying runs, is critical. Watching de Blasio try to close a pass on the 9 of Thomas George, that's the 19 of Stanford in P8, who was just broken away from this battle. And I mean, it looks like if you're comfortable with the car, as Ross Cato's got the best view of this of all of them, Nolan. Looks like if your car's pretty comfortable, the inside and the outside can be very even at times.
That's certainly the case. I mean, the inside line is definitely going to be faster on the entry, but the question is, can you maintain the momentum around the outside line? And Ross Cato's favored the inside a bit more. Now he's side by side with Nicholas Johnston, so 2 by 2, 2 rows deep here, and it looks as though Thomas George will be able to get de Blasio around the outside lines. The battle kind of moves on down. Ross Cato backs out and allows Johnston to take the spot, and now David Washington trying to pick up a run around him as well and pick up the 12th position now.
Talked about his previous win here at the Dover International Speedway. That one came a couple of years ago in the 2016 fall race. Tonight he comes into this one the 4th driver outside of the playoffs, looking in at about a 13-point deficit. A win or even just a good run could be huge for David Washington. But up front, how about the tires? Quietly under that pit stop, Dylan C. Jones came down to get tires that are about 30 laps better the tires of Friedage and everybody else, and he has been the only car who came down pit road to blitz the field, and he is your new race leader. Here's a second look at the pass, and the difference on tires made it a pretty easy one. Friedage saw that the 20 was way faster, just let him go. So Dylan Jones burning an extra set of tires, but getting through traffic effectively, is checked out. It's the race lead. He's about 0.3 of a second faster than Friedage every single lap.
1.6 seconds and continuing to grow by a very big margin. The exact gap is 32 laps fresher on those tires. Still battling hard though in the back. Dylan Coyle trying to get around Nicholas Johnson. He is going to pick up the position. Johnson has now lost 2 spots in this one lap. Johnson back to 12th now. Dylan Coyle puts himself up into the 11th position, and they're trying to get on Kyle Trudell. A lap car down to the 30th position. Trudell, though, is trying to have a go here at Adam de Blasio, he's trying to lap himself here, Trudell is, and that's going to be the road for Dylan Coyle to go up the inside of de Blasio and pick up the top 10.
Oh, got a little bit tight that time and couldn't close it out, so de Blasio hangs on to the spot for the moment. I mean, these are all big movers, right? De Blasio going to wash up that time at 1 and 2, and Dylan goes on through to take position 10. Dylan Coyle up 25 spots. Adam de Blasio up 29 positions. The only other biggest movers, Dylan Jones with the front of the field up 29 positions, tied of de Blasio for the biggest one. But this is that tire advantage, right? So this is going to continue. I mentioned Jones was the only one able to blitz through the field. Dylan Coyle, the second highest running driver of those who just pitted. Nieto would be the other one. So watch for those two, but their run through the field will be stopped. There is a caution flag and a slow car on the front straightaway. That is Jaron Winemaster in the number 48 machine. Shouted out that car for a bit of a throwback look ahead of our fall Darlington race, which will be the official throwback weekend of RSR. And he had a coming together with, I think that was Joe Yates. We'll get a second look. They were running 22nd and 23rd.
This is coming off of turn number 4 here. We take a look at the replay. You got Yakes on the inside, Wymaster on the outside. Oh, both cars, they might got a bit loose, and they just came together right at the exit, and Wymaster got the worst out of that one, slammed the inside wall. Joe Yakes, I think, tagged the outside wall a little bit, but despite that car being 90 degrees sideways overall, with some help from Wymaster, actually managed to recover the car nicely as well and actually saved the thing. So, good wheel work there from Yakes to keep that car under control, but now we can see another big gaggle of cars here coming down pit road. However, your race leader, Dylan Jones, stayed out. So now the tire strategy here, Evan, is going to be flipped around as you got Jones going to be out there on 20-lap older tires and every car behind him.
Yeah, it's going to be the inverse. Everybody else, decided to come down pit road last time. Going to stay out. All those drivers who had opted to stay out are going to get rid of about 50-lap-old Goodyear Eagles and to come down for service. Look at Trey Browning down in the number 1 pit stall at the very end of pit road. They'll go for 4 tires, right sides, left sides, and the race off of pit road between those two is tight. I think Friedage gets the top spot off the pit road. Browning second, Phillip third, Lariah fourth, and Nick Silver will come off as the 5th car for the pit lane. That will put them in positions 6 on back. So the top 5 stayed out. Freshie is going to be P6 on back. So that's Jones, Coyle, Kaczynski, Tice, and Yakes, the drivers who did not pit that time through.
And this is going to put Dylan Coyle up to the 2nd position. However, I hate to say it, Dylan, I fear not for long. Once again, a 20-lap deficit between himself, Dylan Jones, and several cars further in the back. And well, we've seen just how important tires can be here, but you got a couple of guys out there that have now come down a few times for tires so far this race, and they're only going to have, the 2 or 3 sets remaining. You still got over half the race to go.
Joe Yakes abandoned ship. Not surprised because he was involved in the incident. So he'll come down and get some damage repairs. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4 who have decided to stay out. And Dylan C. Jones looked like he was going to run away and enjoy a great advantage. And again, at this point, Nolan, we can't say definitively what's the better strategy, right? On the last green flag run, we saw these cars, Jones and Coyle, blowing through the field. It looked like they were on the right strategy. A quick yellow later, now it looks like everybody else is on the right strategy, right? We have no way of knowing in 118 laps which strategy is going to put which group at the front, and that's what makes these races so difficult to strategize.
It absolutely does, and it's what makes these races so entertaining as well. And this is one of the reasons why I really, really love oval racing. Cautions tend to be a heck of a lot more frequent than on road courses, and that means there are a lot more opportunities for strategy shakeouts. Not to mention it really bunches up the field together and gives us a whole lot of action in one fell swoop here. So it's one of the reasons why oval racing, personally, one of the best types of racing you could possibly find out there, and Dover is definitely one of the better tracks you can do it at.
Not always going to be the cleanest of races, but if you want to see people have to drive something that's difficult, Cup Cars at Dover is a fun combo, especially you can see the big motor, small blade combo with the 750 horsepower in effect here tonight. You got to drive these race cars. It's fun to watch as the lights are on top of the race car, so there's no shying away the fact that these top four are going to be slower than the rest of the field. We saw how tricky it was, when it's the invert, Nolan, right? When it was these four who were the only ones really that pitted, and they were going past everybody else, it wasn't that chaotic because the majority of the cars were one speed, and it was a few that were picking their way through. This will be chaotic, but it's a majority of the cars that are fast try to pick their way by a small number of cars that are slow. It's just a little bit more hectic. So we'll see how long Dylan Jones can stay up front. Probably a couple of laps depending on how much traffic the likes of Friedage and Browning side by side on row number 3 are going to have to deal with. Could get messy, though. We've seen a lot of 3 wide. The lapped cars, or slower cars, I should say, dropping backwards. See how this one plays out. The pace car off and in, 83 laps down, 117 laps to go from Dover Downs. Green flag in the air, and the 20 is absolutely gone. Here comes Kuczynski to the inside of Coyle for second. Let's go 3 wide. Friedage squeezing to the inside. He'll take both spots in 1 and 2.
Joseph Tice dropping like a rock. Oh, that might get tight there on the outside line. Goodness gracious. The 18-car Trey Brown just barely squeaking past Michael Kuczynski. But Joseph Tice on almost 50 left roll tires falling like a rock. Dylan Coyle gets put into the outside wall right up in front as it looked like once again Browning was the one to shove the 79 car up and in there. Good grief. That was a close restart, though. I am shocked we did not have our second pileup on the back straightaway.
And now a battle for the race lead, off and 1. Friedage, you can see, up the road to the inside of Jones. No problem. Back to the top spot. The winner of 3 of the last 4 races, Andrew Friedage, top of the board. Philip going to go on through. Big thing that I've learned out of this is that pass right there, Agnell Phillip on Trey Browning. We saw Phillip start 14th in this race. Nolan, he was able to drive his way up to 3rd, but he sat 3rd for some time, right? Nick Silver able to get around Jones for 4th, but on this restart, Phillip getting ahead of Browning. Now to P2, it's the highest that Indy 4 has been all night. Wonder if he may have an answer for Friedage's dominance so far.
It's keeping nice and tight there with Friedage as well, hovering at about 0.3 of a second, so we could see another battle for the race lead picking up here in very short order. It, of course, will depend on Agnell Phillip, and if he can manage to get a run here down on Friedage. It's such a difficult thing to do at this track, and already you can see Friedage starting to pull a little bit more of a gap, extending that gap to about 0.5 of a second, but that immediately narrows back down to 0.4 off of turn number 2.
Pretty even lap time-wise. Friedage has the best lap out of anybody tonight, and the last lap he had the fastest lap, but only by 0.02 of a second over Agnell Phillip. So the 94 is holding, not gaining, but holding. Here's a good 3-way battle. Michael Araya, one of your Championship 4 contenders from 2020, up to position number 4. He could be a title favorite. Not quite the season I think that we have expected out of Michael so far this year. Funny to say that because he's in the top 10 in points, but without a win could be a concern if more different drivers win races. And at Stanford and Bowie, or Stanford and Silver, I should say, just behind him there, battling for 6th and 5th, giving that 44 a bit of a buffer, as he may actually try to make a move on Browning here in a little bit.
Certainly wouldn't surprise me. I mean, at this point, Laraya has got to start weighing the options of, are you losing time behind Trey Browning, or are you kind of just holding station, or are you gaining anything? It's all these factors that the driver starts to think about when they're just running behind a guy like this. That really depends if it impacts their decision as to whether they're going to make that move or not.
It does, and it's also important to know when you're in line. The car's going to handle a little bit differently. Is it tight? Are you working your tires a little bit more difficult? I mean, there's all these different things that come with traffic. that a race leader doesn't have to deal with. Stanford thought about going to the inside of Silver, doesn't do it. That's good stuff battling here inside of the top 10 as your top 2 cars continue to exchange fastest laps back and forth. Here comes Lariah to the inside of Trey Browning. Long runs is where the 18 needs a little bit more, and now he'll drop to a race low P4. It's been lower than 4th in the running order based on strategy, but it's the first time he's been P4 against cars that he's on the same strategy on. So Browning looking for a little bit more on the long run as Lariah cracks the top 3 for the first time tonight.
And already starting to pull away with that 3rd position is Lariah. So that 44 car's on the move. He decided he was losing too much time behind Brown, and then I think I could have to say that was a bit of a good pass if Lariah wanted to make time up, because now it's Terry Stanford that's right up behind Brownie and trying to pressure the 18 car for what is now the 4th position up on the track. One more slow car down low coming down to pit road, just in there this time by. Try and find who that was. That was Matthew Mara in the 23 car making yet another stop.
Tough break for Matt, who is a handful of laps down, about 11 laps down in 32nd. Trying to fight his way through to the end of this one. A lot of cars have had a bit of a rough go. Miles the Monster, been awfully hungry early in this SimSeats 200. And now Stanford, the next driver on deck. Try to make a move on the Circle B diecast, number 18 of Trey Browning. Not going to make the dive this time. He will stay in line for the time being. Keeps looking, but it doesn't appear like Stanford's going to force the problem. How about up the road? Some lap traffic on the outside. It's Brandon Bowie, who started 5th in this race, but normally when you don't have a front clip, it's a little bit slower. Modifieds, I don't know if they stack up against the Cup Series car, and Bowie getting out of the way. Tough break for the 34 after what started as such a promising night.
Yeah, very tough break indeed for Brandon Bowie, but he's doing a good job trying to stay out of the way and let these guys up in the front run their race. I'm probably about to jinx this race here in its entirety, Evan, but kind of looking through, this is about as spread out as the field has been all race long so far, which means we could potentially see a new longest green flag run as well. If I've gone back and counted this right, the longest green flag run we've had so far all race has been about 21 laps, and that was on the only single file restart that we had so far in the race, right at the end of the first caution. Steve Soa tried to come down to pit road. He actually missed pit road, so he's going to have to stay out here and take another lap.
It's not something that we've talked about tonight, but Dover, a notoriously tricky pit road, and Steve Soa running 17 laps down. Clearly wanted to come to get some additional damage repair, but didn't get a load up in time, and he will just take that slow trip around on the apron and stay out of the way. A nice-looking 75, even with the damage. It's a biased opinion, of course, but
no.
Steve's going to come in this time by, and the Sheets versus Wawa battle has been very lopsided, but at least when it comes to good-looking cars, 75, I think, is up there. It's a good-looking color set, but he'll drop down to the pit lane, stay out of the way. There is no further incident. We stay green in this time by 100 laps down. 100 laps to go. So let's take a look top to bottom in your running order with a look at your SimSeats midway race break. Andrew Ferdinand leading this one. He has now opened it up about 1.5 seconds over Agnel Phillip, who sits in the number 2 spot. Then about another 1.5 seconds down the road till you find Michael Lariah in the number 3 spot. Trey Browning started from pole. He has slid back out to 4th position, but still ahead of Eric Stanford. Pulled away just a little bit. You see the 19 there. He sits in P5, ahead of Nick Silver on his heels in 6th. Sean Casto sits 7th, ahead of Adam de Blasio from 40th on the grid. The only provisional driven his way up to position number 8. Sam Nieto has slid back to the 9 spot with a bit of damage, but holding strong inside of the top 10. And Thomas George rounds out your top 10 in the number 9, Nolan.
Well, not for long. He had just made some contact in the back. That saw the number 9 car have some really big moments there down the front straightaway, but somehow George doing a great job of keeping it steady. So he's getting down in the 11th position now with Nicholas Johnston picking up the 10th position. Eric de Blasio is in the 12th position. Cato 13th, Harrison 14th, Rabel 15th. David Washington is in 16th with Parrish in 17th. Trudell, Jones, and Lachinski rounding out the top 20 here.
And only a couple more cars on the lead lap, including Dylan DeCoyle in 21st position, Joseph Tice 22nd, Madanzi Major 23rd, and Trevin Valderrama P24. But a lot of battling going on one lap down. It includes P25 for Steve Durham. Brian Chambliss is 26th. Michael Kaczynski down in 27th spot. Joe Yates 28th. We talked about the rough night for P5 starter Brandon Bowie down in 29th. And 30th is the last car one lap down. That's Braden Whitaker.
Indeed, that's the last car one lap down, but certainly not the end of cars being lapped down in the first place. Sean Callist is in the 31st position. Kyle Camber, 19 down, but still chugging out there in the 32nd position on the track. Matthew Morrow sitting in pit road at the moment in 33rd with Steve Sola, Jared Weinmeister, Stove Price, Dominic Howe, Rhett McBride, Matt Danson, Eberhard, Miller, and Moreno rounded out the rest of the 42-car grid. All drivers from about 34th, 33rd on back, currently marked as DNFs.
So look top to bottom at your SimSeats Midway Race Break. Since 2009, SimSeats has been designing and fabricating high-quality, made-in-the-USA driving simulators, including motion systems, complete turnkey iRacing packages, and custom fabrication. Their customer base includes all racers from the amateur to the pro ranks, and everyone on the SimSeats team is a weekend racer too. Their passion for racing drives them to build better sim racing equipment. Join SimSeats for the thrill of racing at any time, in any car, and on any track by visiting sim-seats.com to learn more. A good look at all the different lines, how much movement there is off of the corner as we look straight down that backstretch. And a good look at all the banking as well. They say 9 degrees. I promise you it feels like a lot more on the back straightaway here at Dover, off with the Dover Downs in turn number 3. And just a fun racetrack. One of the latest tracks to get a nice art update for the iRacing team. Some of the signage and whatnot very correct. You'll see that next week as well at COTA. Just got an art update yesterday on iRacing because the Pro Invitational iRacing Series race is going to be there this Wednesday on FS1. So iRacing doing a good job, and there's a lot of smoke and a wreck in turn number 3, and Shane Parrish with some colorful language over the radio. Feels like he may have been wronged in whatever happened at lap 109.
Michael Kaczynski is another car that was involved. This one is still stopped in 3 and 4 in the number 30 car, so he's having a bit of a rough night there for Kaczynski. For the sounds of it, they both made some pretty significant content in turn 3. We'll take a look at that now. There is Kaczynski with Parrish coming up on the inside. One lap car, and wow, wow.
I don't see, honestly, what Michael Kaczynski did there.
I don't either. I mean, I do some work as a race controller in other leagues, and in my opinion, Parrish has to kind of put that one on himself.
I will have to get a couple more angles. I mean, Shane Parrish is still going in at it on the radar. Listen, there's no situation where you're a lead lap car, a lap car hits you, and you're going to be happy about it. Here's Parrish's perspective.
It looks like he just drove him into him. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward from that angle right there that we just saw.
I didn't really see Kaczynski come off of the fence much. And of course, if you're the 89, you're going to want to pull alongside him, right? You want to get the best arc into the corner. You're not going to enter it on the bottom. Parrish was in a battle up the road with David Washington, but I'm not sure where the anger is directed at there with Michael Kaczynski. And an unfortunate incident takes those two cars out, and we have another installment of pit strategy. Freinage comes down from the race lead. A majority of the car is going to be in this time. I think this would be burning his 3rd additional set of tires. Browning also down pit road, going to go for 4. So if I've been tracking this right, these leaders are only going to have 1 set left for the final 88 laps of this race. Freinage is going to burn it off the pit road, maintain the top position. It's Freinage off first, followed by Lariah, Phillip, Browning, and Stanford. And it looks like 7 cars total now stay out. We see this basically every time there's some pit service. You got a group that pits and a group that doesn't.
Well, you want some strategy here?
Let's hear it, because you are one of the cars who stayed out.
Yeah, and I'm going to actually ask you to black flag me to the EOL maybe? I don't know if I want to be out here in the front again, but kind of following Dylan Jones's lead here, fresh tires mean so much. I mean, they're ridiculously important. And if there comes a situation with 20-ish drivers on the lead lap, with 20-something laps to go, and we have a set of fresh tires, then by all means, it's a great gamble. It's just a gamble here, though. Yeah, I'm gonna tell everyone I'm gonna go to the outside immediately.
Well, and so we saw what happened when you had the fresh tires, drove through to a top 10 spot. Obviously, you're aware that you're going to be on the back end here, but the idea, how many sets of tires do you have left?
2.
So you have an extra set compared to everybody else now. So they could burn their last set with 50 to go. You could have hit with them and stay even, but then at 25 to go, in theory, you could have an extra set. So the strategy, I assume, is predicated on short runs, because if you get lapped, it kind of throws it all out.
Correct, and Steve Durham is saying I'm his hero, and probably Andrew Farina is just saying, are you kidding me?
Why are these IROC drivers in the Cup race, right?
Yeah, right? Yeah, why do we have some late IROC winners in the Cup race, you know?
I'm too washed up to even get into the field on Monday, so I still commend you for making that transition.
Thank you.
So you're up there. Also with Nick Silver, Sean Casto, Adam de Blasio, Nicholas Johnston, Dylan C. Jones, as you mentioned, and then you in the number 6 spot. So 6 cars total. Nolan just coming off of the longest green flag run of the night, though, at about 25 laps.
Longest green flag run of the night, but certainly not by much. But it is improving. We are starting to get these longer green flag runs in there, and hopefully long enough that we can see the strategy kind of continue to play out when we get closer to a few laps to go. One driver that we've probably noticed as well, who has, well, he's several laps down now, about going down 7, going to be 8 this next time by, Eric de Blasio. He was on the lead lap, running about 9 seconds behind the race leader, but some significant technical issues, it would seem, Evan. I've seen him drop down several laps behind the leaders now, so I think that's just about the most unfortunate way you could possibly lose laps in here.
Tough break. I always call it the sim race equivalency of some sort of a mechanical issue, loose tire, something coming down pit road, and just bad luck. To find himself down now 7 laps total. And Eric de Blasio, I think, is disconnected from the session. So he's just going to give it up. He was only ahead of about 3 cars running, so that'll take a top 10 run and get rid of it. Tough exchange for the 11 of de Blasio. The cloud cover is picked up here. Not a lot of sun. Track temp's going to be dropping down as Nick Silver is in control for this restart. 86 laps to go, past the halfway point and counting down. Battle for the race lead, not that critical. It's the battle behind. Look for the cars with fresh tires.
Look for those cars indeed. You can see one car letting a lot of the guys through out in front, but this is a hornet's nest of cars down here into turn 1 and 3. Contact is made between the 44 and the 20, and up the track slides Dylan Jones, but Jones hangs on to it. Michael Araya, though, just barely managed to recover the 44 car. He was in the middle of 3 wide, and somehow he didn't wipe out the entire pack as well.
He basically got pushed into that by the 18 of Trey Browning, and one is saved by Jones to hang on, but these are all the cars on fresh rubber who do not have any patience. In the lead car, no shock, is Farina. She gets ahead of the Hornets next. He'll be followed by Agatha Phillips, still second. How about Stanford, though, getting ahead of Trey Browning? He's the 4th highest now running car on the fresh rubber, and now they all set their sights on Sean Casto down the back straightaway as there's the 18 and company still struggling to get through some of them. But Casto up top, not going to have much of a defense for all these cars on fresh tires, and now Nick Silver probably going to be caught this lap.
So Nick Silver up at that 3 car. He's definitely watching his beers at the moment. Freenosh coming with a massive head of steam off of turn number 2, and sure enough, Nick Silver in the 3 car is a sitting duck for Freenosh in the 88, who takes the inside line for turn 3 and will once again retake the race lead. Now with Agno Phillip up to 2nd place, does the 94 car have anything for Freenosh up in the lead?
Closest he's been in some time. I talked about the fact that they were exchanging fastest laps for a while, but Phillip was never able to overcome a distance, and we'll see if he's able to do it now. Closest he's had an opportunity to. On board, looking off to the back, a race to the range of Freenosh. The last lap, he is faster than Agnel Phillip. The lap prior, it was the other way around. So I think Agnel Phillip, he's going to have to, I don't know if you're really willing to go off strategy. We got those kind of 2 strategies where it's everybody on one and 6 cars or so on the other one right now. I don't know if Phillip is worth throwing away a P2 finish at hopes of the win. P2 points would be great for the 94 team, but I feel like if he can get in front of Flinage somehow, he's got a great chance at the win, but it's going to be awfully hard to pass him, as that's the 5 of Tice going way down to the apron, trying to make a move on Nick Silver in the mix. Of a 9 car up there as well of Thomas George, but Silver trying to get out of the way there.
Chris Rabel is just sitting in the back of this 3-car train here in that 29 machine, trying to run down Kyle Trudell as well. Trudell's done a really good job, by the way. Remember, he was a lapped car about 50 laps or so ago. Well, he's back on the lead lap and now up into the top 10. So Trudell on a fantastic recovery drive so far for having some significant issues early on. Now up 16 spots where he started today in the Extreme Performance Motorsports number 7. So I have a feeling that Trudell is feeling pretty good about himself right about now.
Having a good night and a good points night for Kyle, which I think is the biggest thing to take away. We talk about the drivers without wins and the unweighted points. Kyle Trudell sits 8th position. When you factor in the race wins that have happened so far, he drops down a handful of positions. Without that win, he finds himself in the number 8 spot behind guys like Phillip, like Miller, like Eberhardt, who are behind him in points, but courtesy of wins, put them ahead of him. There's likely going to be, if Flinage keeps winning 3 of 4 for the end of the year, we're going to have a lot of spots in on points. Very different last month than what it was at the start of the year, where we had 5 different winners in the first 5 weeks, with Miller, Bowie, Eberhardt, Phillip, and Flinage getting the race wins. So for somebody like a Trudell, a win could be huge, but there's always going to be those points paying positions there, and that's why if I'm Agado Phillip, you got to win. Nolan, to the point I was making earlier, right? He's got to win. 2 wins would weigh better, as they have to work around some lap traffic there, but I don't know if it's worth the gamble, right? You're going to get bonus points for wins, maybe because Phillip feels like he's got 1, that's enough. He can gamble. I would take the P2 points. But we'll see how aggressive these race winners want to be. Phillip has inched closer to Flinage, Browning from 4th, the fastest car on track last time, and again, Eric Stanford quietly in that 19 Ford is sitting 3rd. This is shaping out to be a great battle for the race win at Dover.
So kind of on the subject of does Agado Phillip want to go for the race win, it's again one of those things you have to kind of judge if you're losing time, if you're gaining time. At the end of the day, if Phillip finds that he's not going to really be able to catch Flinage before the end of the race, even if he's kind of holding even with him, if you can't get to him and pass him, don't even try to do it, because at that point you're just going to overdrive your car, you're going to slam the wall, slam back to the inside wall most likely, take out a couple cars with you, and then put yourself several laps down as a result, maybe even a DNF. If you realize that you can't quite get the win and you would just overdrive yourself, settle for the 2nd place. That is still a fantastic points haul, considering just how far down you have the potential of finishing still in this race. There is no point in really put yourself so early in the season. It is still pretty early in the season as well, not even at the halfway point yet, so it's the moment where the point stand still fluctuates so greatly from race to race. You should take every point you can get right about now, and if you can't get those top points, settle for the next best thing.
Yeah, and I think when we get to the point where we know, right, there's less races remaining than current spots into the playoffs on points, right? So there's no way all those points-paying positions are going to get eaten up. Then if I'm Agado Phillip, I'll say, all right, there's no way that if I botch this strategy and finish 20th that I'm going to drop out of the top 25, right? His win counts as long as he stays top 25 of the points. I think second half of the year is when you make those calls where I don't really care about a P2. I'm good in points. I'm good with a win. I want another win because for each win I have, I get 3 bonus points going into the round of 16. Don't know if we're at that point yet. You mentioned early, still shy of the halfway point. I think maybe in a month or 2, then you get to the point where, all right, I'll take some gambles for some race wins here, start thinking bonus points long term. But halfway into the year, still a long way to go, as we've seen Flinage pull significantly ahead of the 94 in the last couple of laps, and this race leader is now in some pretty constant lap traffic that they're going to be dealing with. So they're dealing with all of that, and most of the lap cars being cordial and trying to get out of the way. 21 of the 42 cars who started this race still on the lead lap right now as we work lap number 132. Here's Chris Rabel in a bit of a battle. He is trying to move up and make a pass on the number 5. Joseph Tice going to be battled for the last spot inside of the top 10. Chris Rabel up 11 positions. Just ahead of him, Joseph Tice up 32 positions. Tice is the biggest mover in the field.
started stone dead last at the top of the day. He was the only driver as well to not set a qualifying lap, if you remember. So he's doing a great job to find himself over the top 10. Admittedly, some of the attrition to this race does play a bit of a part in that. But hey, in order to get those points, you still got to keep your nose clean.
That 29 looks like it hooks up real good, and Rabel was just a little bit short of being able to get inside positioning in turn number 2 there, and maybe at this end of the racetrack, that 5 a little bit better. I mean, Joseph Tice and Chris Rabel, 2 very good race car drivers, and awesome to see those guys able to make moves through the field in the green flag racing that we've had. There was, the yellows were spaced out. I think in the first half of this race, looking back on it, you had a caution about every 10 to 15 laps, and since then it's kind of trended more towards every 20 to 30. So you are seeing those green flag runs, and right now it's benefiting this group of cars who pitted, took their second to last set of tires. They want it to go green because they don't want yellows to burn up tires. So this is exactly what Andrew Friedage and company want to see.
And not to mention as well, this is now the official longest green flag run on the night, about to hit lap 32, I believe, here out there on the circuit. So this is definitely good to see, and this, again, kind of goes back to the point. It's almost like a short track racing mentality. You're going to get a lot of those cautions in the early running, but as cars start to thin themselves out, you're going to get the attrition to settle in, and then you're going to get some of the more clumsy drivers that are going to eliminate themselves, and from there, you're going to be having some nice, good, clean racing at the end. Similar situation here at Dover, and now we can see they're working their way on the inside of Brandon Bowie. This battle for 10 still nice and hot here. Tice doing a great job of trying to fend off Chris Rabel just behind. I have a feeling that the 29 car might be kind of staring in behind the 5 car because he has been close enough to make the moves. He just hasn't gone for it yet.
Looking to the outside, lapped car Dylan Coyle holding his ground. And yeah, Rabel doesn't seem to be worried or rushing to throw a big move on that 5 car, and to the point with Dylan being a lap down, we mentioned that the strategy for those cars who wanted to save the extra set of tires was staying on the lead lap. Well, their majority, I think, Leschinski may still be good to go. No, Leschinski's not on the same strategy, so Dylan Jones, Dylan Coyle, some of these other guys are a lap down. That's going to hurt them on the strategy, and they'd have to stay out to get the lap back. Trends will say we still got yellows left in us, but a good battle. And I mentioned keeping it real. No shock that Trey Browning, driving good. Keeping it real is currently leading the team championship standings for this SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series. There's no trophy or prize for it, but they certainly take a lot of pride in it. 97 points ahead of Flat Out Motorsports for 1 and 2. That is a team that consists of Sean Casto, Brandon Bowie, Nick Silver, Chris Rabel. All of those drivers are top 10 in points. So they're basically half of the top 10 in points. You're adding talent and Trey Browning to the lineup. They are a force to be reckoned with right there with the likes of Flat Out and, SK Sim Racing and all these other teams, Steel Horse, that have been around for several years.
Oh, we got a yellow.
Oh, well, caution is out, and one car stopped in turn 1. Heads up, drivers. They scrambled to the inside to get around him. So
Trey Browning.
Indeed, Trey Browning, one of the fastest drivers on the day, caught up in a wreck. And I was just going to talk about how Minatomeji just had a wreck, not a wreck, but an incident in a similar place. He had just blown his motor 1 lap prior. So a lot of incidents here, right at about the same time here, Evan.
Well, that's Kalis up the road. I can't tell if Kalis got the wall and slowed down a lot, or if that was just his pace, but Trey Browning came hot and heavy at a turn number 4 and drove directly into the back of the 43. From 4th position was Trey Browning. Spins to the inside wall, heavily damaged. And then there were a couple of other drivers that got a bit more. Let's see it from his view.
So on board from Browning, there's Kalis on the outside line. Does he clip the wall? Oh, yes, he does. It's the smallest of nicks, but it's just enough. Browning, there's nowhere to go to avoid him. He's following his own line, and both cars slam into the inside safer barrier, and, well, we're under another caution on the day.
And interestingly enough, Trey Browning will claim responsibility for the incident, so he'll get it into the longest line of penalty. Drivers are going to get away down to get back to the lead lap, and looks like Friedage and company opting to stay out this time through. So this is I mean, I guess I get it. A lot of drivers would rather play it safe than get the 2-point penalty penalty. I say that 5 times fast at the end of the night to claim it. And I think Trey Browning realizes front end damage has basically ruined his night for a good finish.
And this leaves, I believe, but 16, 17 drivers left on the lead lap here. So attrition continues to settle things in. A lot of drivers in pit road as well at the moment. Drivers like Browning, Silver, Castile, Added de Blasio, Johnston, and Lachitsky all down to the lane for service once again. A lot of drivers as well like Freenage, Phillips, Stanford, Lariah, Cato, Trudell, and more staying out on 32-lap old tires, potentially trying to stretch that final set for a later caution.
Boys, my tires. They're coming
Dylan,
on.
it's been an interesting day for you out there, Dylan. I mean, you've been kind of in the thick of a lot of incidents today. Not so much involved in them, but definitely having your moments on trying to get around them. You have some experience, though, with the track, potentially not racing here as fast as we do here, but I believe you have had some driving experience at this very facility.
Yes, 16 laps. I went maybe a max speed of 100 miles per hour. It felt a lot faster than that, though.
Well, talk about that for a minute while we're under this caution period. What was it like for you? I mean, I have not had the chance to drive a facility like this full time. The only track I've ever driven on is my local club track, and I was getting out to a Marshall station, so it was not nearly as exciting as that must have felt. Yeah, no.
That totally was not as exciting. I can't lie. But it was great. It was such a cool experience. I'll be honest. I've done it twice, 2 times for 8 laps each. I struggled to get my car in gear the second time, and that was scary. Then you had to go stay between lines in the turns, or you got a warning and then you're done. First time I go around the turns, I get a warning on the second time around. Now here's the funny thing: the first time, this particular group who ran the whole thing, they didn't put my Hans device on correctly. So to avoid any action, I didn't thread anything. They just said, okay, yeah, we're gonna give you another go around here. This time you won't potentially break your neck. So that was cool.
Yeah, breaking your neck tends to be a thing that you want to avoid at those types of events.
Right. And I did it. I kept the car on track, and I got passed a few times, so it kind of feels like RSR.
Is that life imitating art or art imitating life?
In this case, it is life or art imitating life, since I did that a few years ago. So yes.
This is good to be could clarify that there is they say sim racing isn't realistic. There you go.
That was mean. Oh my goodness, we're about to go green.
You've got more RSR wins than I do in the year 2021. Pace cars off and in. Andrew Freenage for the green flag with 54 laps to go at Dover. Stanford P2. He's clear for the number 2 spot. Does he have anything for the dominant 88 Ford?
Agnelvilla was caught napping on that restart and lost out on the second position before he even managed to get up there. A big bobble for Ross Cato on the bottom side. He's going to lose out the 5th and potentially the 6th positions as well, as Trudell tries to punch his way into the top 5 after being a lap down earlier in this race. Trudell has a serious shot at the podium if he can keep this performance up, but now he's side by side with San Nieto. 3 wide behind him for a brief moment going into turn number 1 as well, but they managed to straighten themselves out. So a lot of action once again on these restarts as driver on the fresh rubber try to dice their way back to the front.
Nieto looking down to the inside of Lariah. This time the battle going to be for 4th. You see back there that 7 to Trudell. Another driver on the old tires trying to hold off Casto, unable to do so. And now de Blasio going to fly through on the fresh tires at number 21. It's about a 30-lap difference. Fresh tires to old ones. And Sam Nieto is spearheading the effort as they're 3 wide. Tail end of the top 10 out of turn number 2. Nieto towards the front is already up to 2nd. He's got Silver. He's got Casto with him, and they are about to chase down that 88 of Freenage.
1 car slow on the bottom side. That's Sean Kalis. He's just coming out of pit road. Looks like he's just trying to let the field through before he gets himself fully back up to speed. but the battle for the race lead is very much on. Freenage is no chance getting Sam Nieto. Nieto goes back to the point, and now Freenage trying to get up across Sean Casto's nose. No dice though for Freenage, as he's got to let both Casto and Silver through, and Freenage is going to fall back for fourth. I believe, though, Freenage does have one set of tires remaining, and we're now 50 laps to go, so he's still going to get a chance here on that tire strategy.
Freenage to know about, and I think, if my data does not lie to me, that Sean Casto and Nick Silver would still have a set of tires available to them. I am only showing 3 trips to pit road. I do not know about Sam Nieto. He's been down 5 times, but he does have damage, so I don't know if he's used up his 4 additional sets, but this seemingly is putting Freenage on the back foot, not only because of the fact that he just got passed, and he's on the wrong, if you will, strategy now. Here comes Nicholas Johnson, who's going to blow by him here on the fresh tires, but even if there is a yellow, I think Casto and Silver ahead of Freenage also have a set of tires left, as Nicholas Johnson's going to go the outside around. I'm going to drive for the 28. We haven't talked much about Nicholas Johnston tonight, but he's done a great job driving his way through the field. Look at this gaggle of cars. Who'd have thought Freenage would be the roadblock? Look out, what a slide from behind. And a big save there as it's getting a little bit dicey inside of the top 10. Freenage holding up Parrish from a lap down, Coyle from a lap down. They're on the same tires as Nieto, so I don't think these cars are all going to be able to unlap themselves. They'll pass Freenage, but I don't think they're going to be able to get up to Nieto and Casto.
And Parrish is going to lose out another spot to David Washington as well. Coyle had just found his way through around the outside about 1 lap prior, and now Coyle clears the lead lap car of Andrew Freenage. Freenage is going to have to sacrifice more time to David Washington, who's trying to push by around the outside line. I'll tell you what, Freenage is certainly not doing these lap cars any favor here, despite them being on the fresh rubber. He is making them work for this ground here that they're trying to gain on each other. Now all that's left for Shane Parrish to make his run around the outside, and then those 3 lap cars will be clear for at least a little while until they catch up to more drivers up the road. Looks like Nicholas Johnston is the next driver with that they're going to have to work through running at that 5th position.
And Sam Nieto ends up as the race leader here from Dover, but just as I say that, Sean Casto with the pass. You mentioned it, closing things out. So Sean Casto now will go to the race lead. How about the situation for these two? Casto, a race winner from earlier this year, took home the checkered flag just a couple weeks back at Talladega Super Speedway. That was quite the win and quite a popular one. When Casto was able to go to victory lane, had been one of the longest tenured drivers in RSR history yet to get a race win. He got the checkered flag, and I think it was his 126th start, made him the 3rd longest tenured driver in RSR Cup Series history without a win. But he got the checkered flag in career start. I guess it would have been 127. Big popular win. How about going 126 races without a win, and now the chance for Sean to maybe get 2 in 3 weeks? He's in a good spot. He's pulling away right now from Sam Nieto. Sean Casto is having a career year. Don't think because that win came at Talladega that he lucked into it. His team controlled that race even without that win. Sean Casto is 2nd in the points to Andrew Freenage, and it has just been a treat to watch this 52 team do what they've been doing this year.
Plate racing, people say it's all luck-based. Well, it is anything but. It takes a surprising amount of skill to be able to take victory at one of those races. You definitely need to rely heavily on your teammates to work your way through those events without tearing yourselves up in the process, because if there's ever a track where one slight poke out of line could cause an almighty incident, Talladega Superspeedway is definitely the king of those types of venues. So the fact that he was able to get that first win and finally break his tenured streak, definitely a really, really good sign to see for Nieto. And now, like you said, or sorry, what Casto said, he's trying to go for those 2 wins in the same spot. Unfortunately, though, Sean Casto, he is now starting to struggle with Sam Nieto, goes up to the point now for the race lead. Nick Silver now trying to pick up the 2nd position. So Sean Casto still has some very fierce competition as take a look back here at how Sean Casto lost the lead. There was the biggest number in front, and oh my goodness, that was a close one.
It was Michael Kaczynski ahead of him, who got loose at a 4, hit the wall. Mara went down to the inside, got hit. I mean, Kaczynski was everywhere, butt pointed straight, but it never actually wrecked it, and it was only 2 cars, so there's no yellow. Here's Casto's view. Oh, he was going to go low, and that car went low, and Sean Casto should be lucky that he wasn't in the wreck, but we talk about lap traffic being a factor, and that may have just cost Sean Casto a second career RSR win, because all of a sudden he goes from pulling away to falling behind. Nick Silver just passed him for position number 2. So Castro all of a sudden finds himself now down in 3rd. What a change from 5 laps ago.
Oh, jump front straightaway. Braden Whitaker hard to the outside wall after slamming the inside wall. Also involved Chris Rabo, Joseph Tice, 2 drivers that are having some pretty good runs themselves. Not sure who started this, but it's a pretty significant incident there. Turn number 1 to put us under another caution period. I think this is the caution here that guys like Andrew Friedosh needed to put themselves back on the offensive on that tire strategy.
And it all started right there. Chris Rabel in 14th position. We just talked about him, how great of a night he was having. He just got a little bit loose, got into the fence, came down, took Braden Whitaker with him, and then they bounced back up the hill. They collect Joseph Tice, and it was on from there.
It's one of those incidents. Dover is a track where it's so hard to avoid incidents, a lot narrower than it really looks. Dover is typically regarded as a self-cleaning racetrack, though. Because of all the banking, a lot of the cars, they have a natural tendency to slide down to the bottom side. That is until you strike the inside wall. Then you find yourself really quickly shooting right back out to the outside wall, and the track does not become so self-cleaning anymore. So for the moment, San Nieto still leads. He is staying out there. No surprise there. I believe he is on his last set of tires he can use for the night. Friedosh, unsurprisingly though, comes on in. He and a lot of other drivers will be on up to 20 lap fresher tires from guys like San Nieto and Nick Silver, Sean Casto, and Cody Harris. And we could see the race turn very, very quickly in Friedosh's favor here.
So, gents, I have a question for you. Since I don't really have a spotter of any sorts except for my guy who's
listening to us.
Right, exactly. How many did everyone go into the pits, or is everyone going into the pits?
So your top 5 stayed out. Sam Nieto, Nick Silver, Sean Casto, Cody Harris, and yourself have decided to not come down pit road for service.
That's because I was a lap down.
You're showing up as 5th in the running order on my screen. You may want to confirm your position when you come by the start-finish line.
I believe you lied to me.
I'm looking at it. I'm looking P5, so I don't know what to tell you. But
hey, listen,
would it be the first time my timing and scoring is wrong?
Would it be the first time you were wrong?
Well, same thing. So you got 5 guys out at the front of the field. Yeah, so you're going to be 25th. So you got 5 cars that stay out up at the front. I still think Silver and Castro have a set of tires. I'm only showing them having 3 pit stops now. We just proved a minute ago how reliable my timing is. But if they're able to bid down pit road 3 times, they're saving for the end of the race. They're able to have the dash at the end. But we do know that de Blasio and Friedosh and Johnston, all those cars who just pitted now, have certainly taken their final set of tires.
I think you're right. I think Sean Casto and Andy Silver do have one other set of tires left, because I'm also showing only 3 stops so far this race. So they have that extra set of tires. I would have thought they would have come down under this caution period here, because we're getting into the crunch time period of the race. I mean, 33 laps to go right now. I think it'll be about 32, 31 to go when we take that green flag. It's at the point now where that's about as long as our green flag, longest green flag on the race has been. You don't know if there's going to be another caution at this point.
It's so tricky, because I made the distinction that when it's a lot of cars on fresh tires and a little amount of cars on old, it's chaos getting through and you're going to blow by them. But when it's a lot of cars on old tires and a few cars on new, it's a lot more difficult. So even if they get a yellow with 10 laps to go, and then they're probably going to drop back significantly here. They're going to be in the teens, if not the 20s, if we go 10 laps. But then if they get the yellow at 10 to go, yeah, they'll have the advantage. But at that point, you're late in the race and you got to pass 20 cars. That's very different than the guys right now having to pass 4. I like the call to take the tires now, see how it shakes out. Somebody else trickles down pit road, so it is only Nieto, Silver, Casto, and Harris. 1, 2, 3, 4. The drivers on 24 lap-old tires. Nicholas Johnston kicks off the freshies from row number 3 alongside de Blasio, with Friedosh, Phillip, Lariah, and Trudell running inside of the top 10. The pace car going to dive in this time. We will be left with 32 laps to go for the virtual Dover International Speedway. Could Sam Nieto, who seemed primed to steal the win after the issue with the cast over the lap traffic, went to the race lead. The yellow now throws that end out. I think it's going to be who is on fresh rubber and who can get by these first two rows of race cars the fastest. They're looking for the green flag. The 2 car going to go a slow roll. Now he's on the gas. We are underway. Could it be Johnston, who is not going to make a move? He stays in line behind Casto. Watch that white and orange, number 28. He leads the charge, but Freenage is right on his heels.
And already looking 2 wide, 7 rows deep, almost for 3 wide. Eric Stanford trying to have a run here at Lariah down to the turns 3 and 4. Cody Harris getting swung to the outside, car getting spun around. He somehow saves it. Agno Phillips still trying to hang on to Buddy on the front straightaway. No, now he gets clobbered by one of the drivers on the inside line, and another wreck down at turn number 1. Caution flag comes out almost immediately. Phillip nearly had that saved. They got pile driven at the last moment by Shane Parrish. While up front, heading into turn number 1, another incident occurring between looked like Brandon Bowie and potentially getting rear-ended by Sean Kalist.
Oh my
goodness.
goodness.
Was almost one of the best saves I have ever seen. As Agno Phillip went to go 3 wide, had a bit of a touch right there. It's the second touch, and right here he saved it. Thought he had it, but the car just wouldn't straighten out, and then right there, clobbered on the inside, as you mentioned, by Parrish. And Parrish going to go immediately to the garage, and what a sour end to what was such a good night for Agno Phillip up until this point, in the conversation for the race win for much of it.
He was up in second place, and this again goes back to what I was talking about earlier, Evan. If you know you can't make the spots, settle for what you got. You got yourself about 30 laps to go still. You don't need to push it 3 wide on the restart when you know it's going to be super tight like that. Phillip does take the blame for the yellow flags, and he'll be getting that end of the line penalty. We'll take another look on board with Dylan Coyle. That is such a sorry sight to see, though. Now Coyle can't see. Now he can see, but now you got cars spinning up in front of him in turn 1 as well, and oh my goodness me! Oh, still trying to get around cars.
Yeet.
Yeah, that was a view.
Oh my goodness! You remember those old challenges and the older NASCAR titles where you would avoid the wrecks?
Yep.
Those
Is that
were
what
my
tonight's
favorite.
felt like?
Those were my favorite.
I feel like tonight may have had a bit of that flavor. I mean, update us. You know, we checked in with you. You decided to save the tires to try to save them for late, and I guess stuck a lap down. Are you going to get the lucky dog? Are you the lucky dog this time by, or did the lucky dog already go through?
I don't know. It looked like Durham went through, but I'm not sure if he was involved. We'll see. I'm currently showing as. I don't know. I have no idea. I think Durham
Sounds
went
like
through.
Whitaker may have already taken the wave around in the 04, so you will have to wait for one more trip around, or one more yellow, if you want to get the lucky dog. Of course, you're going to have to fight David Washington and Brian Chambliss behind you, so it is no guarantee, but still a chance to get back on the lead lap. Only 18 cars still on the lead lap for this one. And Nicholas Johnson, we saw a great battle, Nolan, as they were wrecking. I believe it was Casto who got split. Casto threw a block when Nicholas Johnston tried to pass him on the bottom. So Johnston went up top, had the run. Freenage cut under Casto at 4, and we were 3 wide for 3rd. At the moment of yellow, Nicholas Johnston was ahead of Andrew Freenage, so that'll put him on the inside of row number 2 and 3rd. Freenage goes to the outside in 4. And still on old tires, front row, Sam Nieto and Nick Silver are certainly going to get eat up here, but I think the question is, does Nicholas Johnson benefit from being on the bottom, or is it going to be Freenage? Because I don't see Nieto and Silver holding these two off. They are going to have to hope to burn that perceived extra set. Again, I don't know if Nieto has a set, but I'm fairly confident Silver does. Not a race-winning call at the moment. They're going to have to use that at some point, but could Nicholas Johnston hold off, Andrew Freenage here in a David versus Goliath battle and try to be a race winner here? He's got just as good a shot as anybody else. I just don't know if the inside is better than being on the outside of row 2.
Well, at the moment, being on the inside is definitely a little bit more beneficial for Nicholas Johnson. The reason being, if he can kind of match Nieto and Silver on the restart, which is going to be a difficult task because Nieto has been acing these restarts, Johnson could potentially send a 3-wide move up the inside into turn 1. He'll also be able to kind of trap Freenaj into the outside line behind Nick Silver, who is likely going to have to stay high to kind of let him through on the inside line. It's going to be a very tricky task, but this kind of goes back into the question. Something we haven't really talked about, using traffic as a pick. Usually it's more of a thing that happens with lap cars. You use lap cars as a pick. In this case, though, it could very well just end up being a case of using the driver that's on older tires as yourself.
This is only Nicholas Johnston's second career SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series start. He's a rookie for 2021, made his first start a couple of weeks back at Talladega, in which he started 30th and finished 37th. Now he finds himself going up against the multi-time champion at Andrew Freenaj, including a 3-time defending champ from 18, 19, and 20 for the race win here at Dover. See how this one shakes out. Pace car going to be in this time. It is a side-by-side restart, this time with 26 laps to go. Pace car off and in. Nieto's got a little bit of damage. How does he want to play this one as they roll through for a very slow start? Green flag flies. We're underway, and the 2 cars got the big run down to turn 1. Here comes Silver to the inside to protect, and Johnston sneaks through, snaking high. He'll get by the 3 car first, looking for the race lead.
And now Freenaj finds his way down on the bottom side, so Freenaj gets through, but already Johnson with a significant gap out in front. Johnson helped down a little bit as well by some contact behind from Sean Casto after Casto tried to anticipate the start, but now Sam Nieto, a sitting duck. Here comes Johnson, gonna go high to go around the 2 car to overtake him for the race lead. He's at a disadvantage on that outside line. Here comes Freenaj, who's also going to have to go around high, but he's going to potentially get this done here on the straightaway. So Freenaj, the multi-time champion of the 88 car, trying to cut down and maybe have a run here for the race lead on Nicholas Johnson, who leads his first laps at Dover.
First laps led in RSR history, a whole 2 race-long career, but there was much more hesitation by Johnston, debating to go to the outside on the Nieto when he did compared to Freenaj. Freenaj just went for it, and it allowed the 88 machine to cut that advantage basically in half. 23 laps is a long way to hold off RSR's winningest driver. RSR's, most top 5s all time, most top 10s all time. It's basically Freenaj in most of the categories. He has twice as many laps led as the second person in series history. He is the best of the best. Could a driver in his second career start dare challenge the 88? They're pretty even up at the front of the field. The advantage last lap slightly in favor of the 88 car as he closes into 3 car lengths.
Point of perspective as well for the whole winningest driver of the series. Freenaj, again, 3 wins so far on the season compared to everybody else, only having 1 apiece. He's the only driver with not just multiple wins, but 3+ wins in a season as well so far here in 2021. So, Andrew Freenaj, definitely the driver to beat so far here in the RealSimRacing Cup, the SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series. There we go, finally got it out. Johnson doing a great job of trying to fend off Freenaj. The question is, how long can he hang on? Because at this point, Freenaj is on the hunt.
And Joseph Tice nearly wrecking on the right-hand side of your screen. He got loose at a 2, and that 9 car of Thomas George deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for saving that man's life, because he checked up just enough to keep the 5 car from wrecking to the inside of the racetrack. We stay green, we roll on, and Thomas George has had several of those close calls in tonight's race. Battle for the lead with lap traffic. Freenaj is now plastered on the deck lid of the 28 in front of him.
Chris Rabel was the driver that got in between them, so now Freenaj looking for the inside. Johnson is able to cover him off. They're still catching Brandon Bowie, so that 34 car might have a thing or two to say about this battle. Lap traffic could often try to speed the decider at tracks like this. Under 20 laps to go. Johnson trying to hang on. Bowie is going to go high and let the leaders through, so they'll be able to duke it out in clean air.
And Andrew Freenaj is not considered a Daniel Eberhardt. He's not a driver that's going to put a bumper to you, or if he decides to, it's a very rare occurrence. So if Johnson can keep pace and hold the bottom, he can make Freenaj's life really difficult. Force the 88 to go to the outside. Frenage is going to park it on the bumper, though, see if he can force Nicholas into a mistake. But if the 88 can maintain the preferred line, he can force the 88 to go the long way around, and Andrew's the guy that'll race you clean for it.
So it is a very much David versus Goliath season. You got a driver with the most championships in the season, most top 5s, most top 10s, 3 wins on the season already. And then you have Nicholas Johnston, second career start, and the only other start so far at a plate tread, no less. Frenage looks for the inside. Johnston still covers him off down into turn number 3. This is one heck of a fight we got going here in the closing laps of this 200-mile race for the virtual Dover International Speedway.
And that's all Andrew needs, is a little bit of daylight. And just because he races clean doesn't mean he's not going to stick a nose to the inside if you leave him room. That 28 machine can't just drive the bottom of the back straightaway. It'll butcher turns 3 and 4. He can't afford to give the 88 as much room as he did that one time, or it's eventually going to cost him. Bit of a bobble that time, but he continues to hold. And as Frenage patiently sits, right? I mean, he's faster than Nicholas Johnston. He caught him pretty quickly, but again, he's not going to just wreck him for this. So he is slowing down right now, being held up by the 28. It's not going to matter. A caution flag flies. There is a car spun on the front stretch.
Oh, it's
Race
Tice.
leaders going to approach the scene. It is Joseph Tice. Down on the bottom, there he is up against the inside of ball. Joseph Tice was in a top 10 spot. What happened?
Oh, just
spot,
came
not
up.
quite top 10, but you saw it there, caught the fence.
Yeah, caught the fence, and then same as you've seen with every incident off turn 4, Brian Chambliss just behind. Nothing he could do about it. No time to avoid it. This time it was Joe Yates, though, with an incredible moment. Look at that! Just barely getting clipped in the door as Tice shot back up. That could have been so much worse, though, for the 87 car, who likely got a bit nervous there with his driver's side mirror full of the rear bumper of Joseph Tice, or what's left of it.
Got a little bit of it, but it could have been a lot worse. And now we'll know who has any tires left. Looks like Nick Silver did have tires. He is in. Sean Casto has tires. He is in. I suppose Cody Harris may have tires. He's down pit road. Dylan C. Jones is down pit road. So this is what they wanted, Nolan, right? They're going to have a tire advantage to the tune of about 20 laps. Not all of those 20 laps are under green, so I'd say it's more likely 12, 13 lap difference on tires. That is substantial, but they are going to be in the minority. There are going to be more drivers on the older tires. I don't know if the final 10 laps of this race will be enough for them to slice through traffic. It looks like those that are pitting are going to come out at about 14th spot. Casto, the leader of that strategy off the pit road on the left-hand side. He beats out Nick Silver, Cody Harris, and then Dylan Jones. So there's your 4 who save tires for the end of the race, and they are going to be the fastest cars on track. But are they going to be fast enough to pass 12 cars ahead of them? That will be the question. So we're going to have a great battle for the race lead between Nicholas Johnston and Andrew Frenage. Michael Lariat in third was joining the party, and we're going to have a group of 4 cars trying to run them down.
I got the lucky dog.
And Dylan got the lucky dog. So it's a great end to this race.
So fantastic. That's the only, I know people tune in to hear our banter. And unfortunately, Nolan replaced Jonathan, so, you know,
Ooh.
banter.
Jonathan moving on to bigger and greater things, I guess, than the SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series. I think this is where it's at on Monday night.
I still love Nolan. Don't get me wrong. He's got to prove his banter worth.
Oh, you don't think I've done that enough in the iRock series? Do you remember how many times I mocked you for missing your pit stalls at Kansas?
Shh.
Well,
Shush.
that proved him right there. At times, the race was a little bit messy. We had some big wrecks. We had some varying strategies, and it's all coming together. I wonder, as I mentioned, a 14th position is where those cars who pitted were going to come out. At least 2 cars in front of them have since come back down pit road. And it looks like, is Trey Browning coming back down pit road? No, he's just not holding his pace on the back straightaway. And the timing's jumping all over the place. They're going to end up 13th or 12th on the back now. So they're only going to have to get around 11. It is a tall order. I don't know, Nolan, if I was those cars, what I would want. Would I want all 10 laps green, or would I want 5 laps green, get a bunch of spots, but then a yellow, right? Because things are going to start to spread out. and they get another run and a yellow. I mean, I don't really know what the perfect scenario is. If I was a betting man, I'd say that Johnston and Friedage, one of those two, are going to be the race winners. I don't know if they can get by 10 cars, but they're sure as hell going to try, and it'll be a restart with 9 laps to go. This could be a fantastic end to a wild night at Dover.
This has been one of the most exciting Dover races I've ever had the pleasure of commentating here. And, definitely a good way for me to kind of come on in here full-time for the Cup Series, for the SimSeats Real Sim Racing Cup Series. I tell you what, this is definitely going to be one heck of a finish here. I mean, it's at this point just about anybody's game. You got Johnston and Freenash up in front, but now, unlike them, who were on they were on the front footing here for that tire strategy before this last caution, but this last caution here has really tossed everything up in the air.
And we will see if this is the final restart of the afternoon. Drivers in the back reminding everybody, have fresh tires, watch out, we're going to be coming through your top 11 cars on older tires, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, those are some of the spots to look for towards the tail end of the lead lap. The pace car's off and in. Nicholas Johnston takes the restart. 9 laps to go from Dover. Friedage maintains second. They'll fight for third behind as Lariah gets ahead of Stanford.
Lariah ahead of Stanford, double file, almost 3 wide for Reborn, just in the very back of this leading train here. First side-by-side battle was between de Blasio and Trudell for 5th and 6th. That is straight out of the beginning. Oh, car won't go! One car with a big slide in the background. That was Sean Castro, who stopped down low on the racing line, and Castro on the 52 car. A bad run. Didn't he just come down pit road with that run? And he got taken out by Dylan Jones, I believe one of the other drivers who came down with him.
We knew that it was going to be a challenge for them to get through traffic, and it was a bit of friendly fire. Here it is. Look at the speed difference, but nowhere to go. Checks up. I think Dylan Jones wants to go to the middle, gives him a tap. And Castro, quite a legitimate shot at stealing this race win late, gets turned and probably going to finish in the high teens. What a turn of events. Those were the drivers we knew were going to be coming.
That is such a shame as well. Brian Chambliss, though, the 25 car, I think we might need to check to make sure that he's not having a panic attack inside his car, because he had one of the closest calls all race long. He had Castro slide right in front of him, and he had to jerk that wheel hard to the right to avoid slamming into him, and then quickly back to the left, locked up the tires as well to keep it going into the wall. On board here with Brian Chambliss. There is Kailis just on the outside of him. There it goes, Kailis down low, and Chambliss just barely avoided scraping the wall just up high.
Looked a lot like Steve's pit stop attempt from earlier to the apron and right by the pit road entrance there. It's a tricky pit road entrance we talked about tonight. We didn't see it under green flag conditions, but it's tough to get a car to the apron. Here's the look with Chambliss. All the smoke. He's in all of it. Look out. Oh, the last second as he was guessing to go low and then just made it to the outside. Brian Chambliss. What a squeeze.
This has been a race for close calls, it would seem. I mean, how many times have we now looked at drivers' onboards from having these incredibly close calls? That's got to be at least a dozen here.
Well, it goes back, guys, to how small this track is. Yeah, it's a self-clearing track, which means all of the action is going down low. It's all congregating to the same place. Well, when you have 2 aside battles and it all comes down the track, there's nowhere to go.
Interesting point, and not normally something we have to talk about, but these Cup Series races do have a 120-minute timer in effect, and there is only about 4 minutes left in the session, so this one may not get the final 7 laps of the race in. I can't remember the last time we had a Cup Series race hit that 2-hour number and not make it to the scheduled distance. So could this approaching rain, if you will, benefit Nicholas Johnston? You will see. There's the clock, top left-hand side of your screen. 5 minutes and 30 seconds. If we get it done on this restart attempt, I think we're in the time. I don't know if there's enough time left on that clock for overtime. This could certainly be an interesting one.
There certainly is not enough time left, so that really means there are 2 outcomes to this race. Either it ends under green, under the scheduled amount of laps, or it ends under caution under a time limit. It's got to be one of the two.
And we'll see how long this yellow stretch is, which will be a big factor. But I don't think 5 minutes is enough time to restart, go through a caution to flag cycle, and restart again. So this could be it to the end of this race. And I think also with Casto, wrecking on that last one, I think that effectively does kill the strategy for that group of four, right? Dylan C. Jones and Cody Harris were not involved, but they gained nothing. They do have fresh tires, but they are 12th and 13th. Nick Silver is in position number 10, but he really didn't gain a lot of positions. So I don't think those cars on fresh rubber are going to have time to get their way on through. Also, because that wreck happened within one lap of the restart, this will be a single file restart for the final restart of the night, and they'll come the next time around to take 4 laps to go. I mean, this is lining up on a platter for Nicholas Johnston to get a win.
So I'm kind of doing the math in my head here, Evan, but got about a minute and 20 caution lap times here, so they are going to have just enough time here to make it back to the checker flag here if they don't have another caution. But yeah, absolutely, another yellow flag would most certainly end the race. So this is definitely going to be a tight one. The pace car coming into turn 3 now.
And if it's single file, does that help our odds of race going green to the end of it? Single file, they're going to go up against the outside wall for what will in effect, with the time counting down, be the final restart of the evening regardless. The pace car is off and in, the field in the hands of Nicholas Johnston, who gets on the loud pedal. We're back underway, 4 laps to go.
4 to go, and Johnson with a big gap over Andrew Freenach, so it's going to be a hard fight for that 88 to try to close in, but already reeling him back in like there's nothing to it. The 28 car under fire for the race lead, coming to 3 to go.
Looking to the inside, they fight inside of the top 10 behind them as Kyle Trudell and Adam de Blasio do battle, but here we go for the lead. Freenach looks to the inside of Johnston. The 28 tries to hold side by side for the race lead. Coming out of 2, here comes Lariah.
Johnson pulls the outside line. That allows Lariah into the mix. Freenach still hugging the inside line, and he's just barely not clear for the race lead on the turn number 4. One car the ball to the back, but it looks like 2 to go this time by. Now Johnson trying to get to the back bumper of Freenach. No dice no for turn number 1.
Took a swipe, hit the 88 car. Freenach survives the bump, and that should be the difference. Lariah 3rd, Stanford 4th, Trudell, your top 5, but coming to the white flag, how about Andrew Freenach? This race is official. He struggled through the final 30, but at the very end, saw the opening, forced his way through on the bottom. He'll go back-to-back at Dover and get his 4th win in the last 5 weeks. The Monster Mile is tamed by Andrew Freenach.
And Nick Silver crashes across the start-finish line just behind them as the checkered flag drops. It's a pileup on the front straightaway entering turn number 1. But Freenach takes the victory. Nicholas Johnston, though, what a drive for the 28 car. Only a second start, and he finishes 2nd place after coming so close to a race victory over the winningest driver of the series.
And that is a good sign for Nicholas Johnston, of course. Rookie unable to qualify for the playoffs because he will not be able to make the 15 starts necessary. So a part-time schedule this year, started a couple of weeks back at Dega. To go toe-to-toe with Andrew Freenach is just no small feat, but we've talked about dominant stretches by this 88 team over the years here for the SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series, Nolan. If you counted our preseason races, which didn't count for points, we had 8 different winners in the first 8 checkered flags flown this year. 4 of the last 5 have been won by your 3-time defending series champion Freenach. And that's why I said off at the top, if he goes on a tear, he can eat it up. And I think this is Andrew Freenach's world that we're just all living in it. He burns it down now as a 3-time Monster Mile winner. And of course, a 4-time winner in 2021.
The 88 car is going to definitely be the honorary car to be held in the hand of the Monster Mile just out front of this beautiful 1 mile facility. to go on his Polish victory lap as well. A well-deserved win for the 88 car. He definitely had to work for this one. Props, though, to the 88 car. Did absolutely everything that he needed today to get it done. Got it done in the last couple laps as well over a very well defense of Nicholas Johnston, too. But I think Freenush got this win the best way possible. He got it done cleanly.
Let's take a look top to bottom at your SimSeats full race results tonight for the virtual Dover International Speedway. Freenush gets the checkered flag, margin of victory 0.3 of a second and change. He will park it in victory lane as best he can down there on the pit straight. Nicholas Johnson, career high P2 for 4C Sports, and Michael Araya rounds it out with Flat Out Motorsports in third. We'll do our best to talk with all three of them in just a few moments. Eric Stanford, Kyle Trudell, your top 5 finishers. Dylan C. Jones comes up for a P6 finish. Cody Harris in 7th with Adam de Blasio. Sean Casto and Ross Cato, your top 10.
Nick Silver rounds out in 11th for the Keeping It Real number 3 Toyota. San Nieto sits in 12th position to the number 2 car. Mariusz Lechinsky in 13th with Trey Browning in 14th. The driver that we thought had a great shot to win today. Misfortunes befell him, though. He was not able to get it done here today. Thomas George is in 15th with Dylan Coyle in the 16th position. Washington in 17th. Braden Whitaker, the last driver on the lead lap, finishing in the 18th position with Joe Yates and Brian Chambliss rounding out the top half of the field.
Couple more cars to lap down with Steve Durham and Joseph Tice, and then Brandon Bowie down 6, Chris Rabel down 9, finished 23rd and 24th. The rest of these drivers well out of the conversation. Sean Kalis, late race wreck in the front straightaway, comes from 25th. Agnew Phillip thought it was a contender for the race win for much of this one, but wrecks out, ends up P26 ahead of Kyle Kamer, 27th. Shane Parrish in 28th. Michael Kaczynski and Matt Mara back there for 29 and 30.
And rounding out the field, it is, of course, Munatsi Major, Trevin Valderrama. All these drivers, by the way, not finishing the race, some by a very big margin. Eric de Blasio in the 33rd position, Steve Sower 34th, Jaron Wymaster 35th, Stove Price Jr. in 36th, Dominic Howell 37th, Rhett McBride 38th, Matt Danson 38th, Daniel Eberhard in the 4th position. Jimmy Miller and Tom Moreno round out the 42-car grid here from the virtual Dover International Speedway. Fastest lap set by Nicholas Johnson himself on lap 177. So not all the awards are taken home by Freenush tonight.
He had a lot of speed late and gave Freenush everything he could. That's a look top to bottom at your SimSeats full race results. Since 2009, SimSeats has been designing and fabricating high-quality, made-in-the-USA driving simulators, including motion systems, complete turnkey iRacing packages, and custom fabrication. Their customer base includes all racers from the amateur to the pro ranks, and everyone on the SimSeats team is a weekend racer too. Their passion for racing drives them to build better sim racing equipment. Join SimSeats for the thrill of racing at any time, in any car, and on any track by visiting sim-seats.com to learn more information. Let's head down trackside to Dover International Speedway Victory Lane. We are stood by with the Master of Miles. It is Andrew Freenush, your race winner tonight from Dover. Andrew, congratulations congratulations are in order again. 4th win in the last 5 weeks, but back-to-back at Dover. You seem to be a big fan of this place.
Oh yeah, Evan. I absolutely love this place. I said it last week. It doesn't love me. We would have won a lot in a row. There was 2 times we got wrecked by lap cars while having a 6-second lead. So nice to finally close it out. I hope the fans enjoyed that one. I was having a heart attack just trying to get by Nick there, and I mean, just all the tire strategy and everything. That was crazy.
He ended up on the right tire strategy at the end of this one. A couple of guys went for a late gamble, Dylan and Cody, and they were able to get up to 6 and 7 at the end. But it ended up being the earlier pit stop, about 35 laps or so before the end of the race. That was the right call. Just tell us about that battle with Nicholas. Of course, one of the newer drivers to the service, only his 2nd career start tonight, and certainly made you work for it late. We knew that if he could hold the bottom, it would have been awfully difficult for you to go around the outside, and then on that last run, he just left you enough room to get on through, and he tried to give you a bit of a tap, but you held her strong in 2.
Yeah, I just it's so hard to pass here. We don't have the outside lanes that we've been having the last few tracks, so it was just try to find a way to we were getting better runs out the corner, so I really knew on that start that he wasn't firing off as well, so we just got a run there going into 3, and I really backed it up and was able to get under him. But he was doing a heck of a job. If we didn't have that caution, I don't know if I would have got by him, because he was holding that bottom perfectly just like he needed to do, and I don't know if I would have moved him or anything. I kind of don't race like that. So he pretty much had it won without that caution. We got the restart, and I think I just got lucky getting a good, firing off there well.
Not many times that we can visit new tracks, but we do so next time out as we head to the virtual circuit of the Americas. Road racing continues to be more and more prominent, but we haven't seen it yet so far this year. So first road course race at a track that we've never gone to here officially on a Monday night. Have you had any impressions in these Cup cars at the F1 circuit out in Austin, or what do you expect that we'll see out of our first trip there?
What do I expect? I'm going to put all my money and say Matt Danson's going to win. I practice the track. I'm not a big fan of it. It's more made for F1 cars. They have a lot of switchback 180 things, and we've been practicing for about a month. I can make a full field run without wrecking it, so I'm only 2 seconds off pace, so we got a lot of work to do still this week. But Matt Danson, he's extremely talented on ovals, and it just kicks up to another level in road. And if it's anything like the Winter Series, I think he's going to walk away with it. We're going to do everything in our ability to practice and try to put up somewhat of a fight, but I don't think that I am too fond, especially of a new track like that. So I don't know, cautiously optimistic, but we got a lot of work to do still. So
4 of the next 11 Cup Series races are road courses, 4 of the next 9, in fact. So there's going to be a lot of them coming up, Andrew. But we appreciate you being a part of RealSimRacing and racing with us on Monday nights. Congratulations on the win. Thanks for talking. Best of luck with all the RTP stuff, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks so much, Evan. Big shout out to the Sim Racer film. Everybody go check it out. Great sponsors. They're making a film about sim racing. So everybody go check it out, Amazon Prime. And thanks so much, and have a good week, guys.
Well, good TV time for that sharp-looking number 88 Ford Mustang. That is your race winner of the SimSeats 200, Andrew Friedrich, checkered flag at number 4, 2021. We'll continue things down to the pit lane. Nicholas Johnston, nearly a winner in start number 2. Now Shaman finishing second of the best of all time at RSR, and down on truck side with him is Nolan.
And indeed I am. Nicholas Johnston, Nolan Ripple coming at you here. Well, you brought it home in second place. You were so close to getting that race victory. Lost it with just about 3 laps to go. But, you come out to your second career start for the Real Sim Racing Cup Series, and you're already up there challenging wins with the likes of the winningest drivers in this series history, like Andrew Friedrich. So overall, how do you feel this race went for you?
I think it went great, Nolan, especially after qualifying so terribly back in 28th. At the beginning of the race, we just I wanted to save tires and keep the fenders on it and make sure I was there at the end. And we actually got really lucky when we had that parking lot on the backstretch. I was able to get the car stopped in time with very minimal damage. And then from there on out, my crew chief up on the box, David Calb, I got to thank him so much because we really pulled a good strategy there to get some track position. We had some pain there about mid-race when we decided to save a set for the end. And when we got down to 30 go and we got that caution, I was like, all right, it's time. Throw them on, and I was able to get the track position, or I think it was with 50 go, but whatever. I was able to get track position on those guys, and I don't know, I was pushing so hard to try to keep Andrew off. He had so much short run speed on me. I'm more of a long run guy, so he was able to force me to wear my stuff out there. Then we got that caution with a few laps to go, and just got my bumper off of 4, kind of got me loose up off the track, and was able to get a nose on me. But great race by him. I'm really happy to come out of here with a P2. Team Associated Chevrolet Camaro was awesome all night, so can't be any happier.
We'll kind of go into the strategy a little bit more because that was one of the things we were talking about all race long, and it really started off early on for a lot of drivers that took that first set of tires just a couple laps into the race. Of course, it was so unique for you guys. You would be on the front foot 1 lap and then on the back foot the next 50 laps later, then on the front foot right away in about another 20 laps from there. So how did that go for you? Because it was really flip-flopping around for everybody all race long.
Yeah, it was a big seesaw effect. 1 lap you were a hero on the new tires, and then caution would come and you were a 0 with everyone on new tires coming back by you. So it took a lot of patient driving from the whole field to navigate those circumstances where we had cars on old tires up front. But it sure did feel good to have a set sitting in the box waiting towards the end there, because I knew that we'd have the opportunity to be one of like 4 or 5 cars on new tires there towards the end of the race, and that's what we wanted, and that's what David did such a good job making sure that we kept that set there, and it worked out for us in the end. I ran no better than 14th, 15th all race, and then just that one strategy call put me in a position to potentially win and eventually end up second.
And of course, coming in a little bit late, being a rookie, of course, you are not going to be in contention for the championship fight today, which is a bit of a shame, because I definitely think, based on tonight's performance, you definitely have it in you to contend for titles in the future. But looking forward throughout the season, based on how good you were tonight, do you reckon that you could potentially find yourself competing more for wins and maybe even getting a few trips to victory lane later on in the season?
I mean, I don't see why not. A lot of this is learning the drivers and how they drive week in and week out. I mean, certain guys have certain ways that they race, and coming in not knowing anyone, I mean, unfortunately we weren't able to get sponsorship for the whole season. We had to come in halfway, so this is going to be kind of like a learning season for us going into next year. But it's really just going to be learning the drivers and kind of knowing how everyone's going to race you and how you can race everyone else. Some guys got to give more room. Some guys you can run door to door like Andrew. I mean, I pinched him down about as much as I could, and he didn't wreck me. So now I know going to race Andrew in the future, I can trust him. So it's learning the guys, and they'll be learning me and kind of how I race. And I think if situation goes right and we get the right circumstance, I see no reason we want to be fighting for wins.
And, well, before we let you go here, it's been a pleasure talking to you again, Nicholas. Well, before I let you go here, who else would be fast in that team-associated 28 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1?
I just got to thank, once again, David, Conman, all the boys over on the Discord helped me out tonight, Moose, everyone just who put in all the work to help me out get up the good strategy tonight. Ultimate Racing, Proline Tires, and Sim Seats for sponsoring the series. You guys, RaceSpot, for putting on the broadcast, and all the racers for showing up. It's pretty cool to have a full field Cup Series to race, and I'm really enjoying it, so thank you guys very much.
And thank you for taking the time to join us. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Johnston to the 28 car, finishing second place, but oh so close to Andrew Friedosh here in the round at Dover. Best of luck next week at the Circuit of the Americas, Nick.
I'll need it.
And that is going to do it for the second place finisher. Still got one more, though, to come and give us a talk here today. Michael Araya is also going to be joining us here in the third position, coming in at home. Final step on the podium. Well, Michael Araya, was a bit of an up and down day for yourself here as well. Same thing with a lot of drivers today, but you still managed to come home with a 5-spot gain and finish third on the podium.
Well, first of all, I got to say, it's a pleasure to be able to be talking with you guys again. It's been way too long. I think this is my first top 5 of the season for sure. And it's been a while even in the winter series. So it's great to have a run like this tonight and kind of get back to form.
We kind of go through some of the issues so far throughout the race, because there were quite a few issues, particularly with attrition throughout the race, not just for yourself, but with a lot of drivers. As a matter of fact, there are quite a few cautions, almost hit that time limit, less than 5 minutes away from it. What do you think some of the challenges were out there tonight, and how were you able to weather them, excuse me, and come on out in third?
I think the main thing was having a decent qualifying run. Being able to start within the top 10 was pretty important. Even though this is a mile track, the speeds that we're carrying are pretty unbelievable, and aero does come into play even with the low downforce package. So track position was really important. It was really important, if you could, to make passes as quick as possible when you had the tires, because once you were riding behind somebody for a bit, your right front was just starting to get ate up more and more as the run went on. It was really just, staying on top of things and positioning yourself to make sure that you were going to be within that top 10 and hopefully that top 5 most of the race. It was pretty sketchy out there tonight as far as the handling went. Definitely a tight in, loose off condition for most of the night. And it was just wild on those restarts, especially when you had people on different sequences with the tires, just being able to judge how much wheel spin they were going to have and being able to compensate for that and make the right moves to make sure you weren't boxed in. There was one restart where I got boxed in pretty bad, and very easy to lose your cool in that situation, but you just got to soldier on and just keep moving forward. So a lot of that tonight as well, just maintaining your cool as the race went on.
Well, we go from one monster of a track to another. 3.4-mile road course, 11 turns to the left, 9 to the right. A total of 133 feet worth of elevation change as well. Circuit of the Americas comes up next here, Michael. That is going to be a very interesting race in of itself. So what do you think the plan is going to be for you coming into that next race? Because it's a whole other beast compared to the 1-mile oval we were at tonight.
Oh, definitely. I'm going to be putting in a lot of practice for COTA. One of those places I really haven't run many laps, and I feel like it is going to suit me because I view it as a more technical track, similar to Sonoma, where I tend to run really well at. So, again, the goal would be to qualify well, and it's really as long as you can survive the first lap or two where things are going to get spaced out a little bit, then it's all about just getting in a rhythm, you know, making no mistakes, having clean upshifts and downshifts, and just running your own race. I feel like if I can do that, I'm definitely going to be capable of a top 5 there.
A top 5 definitely within shot. You definitely got yourself a top 5 and a podium finish here at Dover International Speedway. Well, before I let you go here, well, Michael, got anybody you'd like to thank for us here tonight?
Oh, definitely. So glad to be able to get a top 5 and get this interview. I got to thank Sim Speed Shop for jumping on board for this season. And I also got to thank Hasib Designs and Blevins Designs for putting together this awesome paint scheme. And we're working on some cool things together for some schemes that are going to pop up later in the season. So I can't wait to show those off. And I also got to give a shout out to all my Flat Out Racing teammates for putting in time and practice and just helping each other out and lifting up the team as a whole.
Thank you, Michael, for taking the time to join us here tonight. Best of luck next week at the Circuit of the Americas, and congratulations on your podium from Dover.
All right. Thank you, Nolan.
Oh, well, Evan, that will about wrap it up then. Your podium finishers there in a nutshell. Some very pleasant guys to talk to, and I think Michael put it very well. It's a very technical track at COTA coming up, so I have a feeling we're in for another good show.
It is a very different challenge compared to the other road courses that we've been to, right? So it is going to be a lot of fun. Certainly looking forward to our first trip out to COTA. If you want to see what that race is going to look like, you got a lot coming up this week, right? You got the Pro Invitational Series race at COTA. You're going to, of course, have NASCAR race week in there, and then we get the Capital off next Monday. But the big thing I learned tonight is not a lot changes in our point structure, right? There's no big swings, and next week we'll kind of take a look at that bubble again and see, you know, a lot of drivers that were +1, -1, how that moves. But what I learned tonight is that Andrew Freenage really wants this, and that is the championship belt for whoever wins the championship here this year. And, you know, we go 5 weeks without somebody winning. Most people don't figure that's a big deal. Andrew Freenage goes 5 weeks without winning. We were starting to question what's wrong, you know, what 3-time defending champ. And then he just goes on a tear like this and wins 4 of 5 at a racetrack here tonight where he was so dominant. Nolan, and nobody said, I don't like this track. This track doesn't like me, right? I don't normally have good luck here. He told us that last week. You repeated it there in the Victory Lane interview. Still gets the win, right? Freenage is so good. But I learned that there's a lot of names that were close tonight, right? Johnston, Phillip, a lot of drivers that had speed that just weren't able to close. COTA's a different challenge because it's a road course, but you're, for the most part, going to control your own destiny, right? We may have some different strategies like we saw tonight. I don't know what the field numbers are, so we'll have to look at that when we get there, right? I haven't broken down that race yet, but that's going to be a race where there's no yellows. So you can't blame, unless you get in a wreck on the start, and turn 1 could get messy. There is no, we got caught up in a bad position for the most part, right? A road course race is one that you can plan out. We're going to go a race for 30 some odd laps. You can formulate your strategy, and for the most part, it's up to you on if you're fast or not. So, you know, we mentioned that a lot of it was fighting the track tonight. These guys are really going to be fighting COTA next week.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Circuit of the Americas, it's arguably one of the best facilities you can find for road course racing in North America. It's a very famous track. Of course, you got Formula 1 that runs there. It's what it was originally made for. You got IndyCar that runs there. Of course, NASCAR, like we said, going to be running there this next Sunday as well. And there just goes to show you a big overhead shot. I think a big point to look for is, of course, going to be the uphill braking zone down into turn 1, top left of the screen, before we swing down the hill through the massive sweeping first sector of the lap. It's a fantastic place to really put these guys at the test, see how they're going to run door to door here for the Coda, before, of course, you cut down for the very, very long straightaway. That shot right there is a perfect angle showing just how severe the elevation change is. About 50 feet up there in about 150 meters. It is so extremely sharp, and I have a feeling we could be seeing ourselves with quite the pileup in turn number 1.
And then, of course, they're using the full circuit, right? We're not cutting it short for the Cup race. We're running that full 3.4-mile circuit. You're going to be at 180 miles an hour at the end of the back straightaway. Coda is going to be a fun time, and it will mark the halfway point of the regular season. But until then, that's it for us here tonight from the virtual Dover International Speedway. So on behalf of our entire team at RealSimRacing and RaceSpot TV, and for your broadcast crew tonight, for our producer downstairs, Hugo Luis, for Nolan Rempel, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Andrew Ferdinand, now a 4-time winner in 2021. Things get twisty next Monday, May the 24th, for our first road course race of 2021 for the virtual Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. That race and every race at the 2021 SimSeats Real Sim Racing Cup Series can be found exclusively here on RaceSpot TV. Until next time, good night from Dover, Delaware, where 3-time is now a 4-time winner this season.